Alright guys, so let's get going with our vNet topic, and we we yeah so vNet topic, and this is about networking as well. We're gonna continue this one with the it has so first we're going to create a vNet. Now vNet is, what is vNet? So it's virtual network, and that is virtual network. And in virtual network, we can create our private network. We can create our private network, and can also can create subnets, route tables. So those who did the AWS would know exactly this much we have created there as well. Traffic flow, right? And then network security group, NSGs, or network security groups. So this is some of the things that we can create: gateways, and whatever is required in your creation of a private network. Suppose you were given a LAN, local area network, right? And then uh, then so you were given a local area network, or suppose there were 25 PCs or maybe 200 PCs there, and in an office floor, and you got 25 computers there, and the whole office is empty. So you would go do some cabling first in an office, and then connect those computers. Then maybe there are two branches there, so you would connect the two branches as well to each other, and you would so the local PCs would get private IP addresses there to connect to each other. So you were able to create that within one branch. vNet is that you can actually on public cloud you can create your private network. So on public cloud we can create our private network. So in public cloud we can create our private network, and that is something that we need to really understand. And we in AWS it is VPC. So let's also compare. In AWS it is VPC, or virtual private cloud. Virtual private cloud, and here it is vNet. In Google Cloud it is, you'll be amazed, VPC, exactly with the same meaning, virtual private cloud. So that's very strange. Google Cloud so AWS did not sue Google Cloud for that, and or Google Cloud did not sue AWS. I don't know who copied who, but you will see a lot of terminology used by Google Cloud, which is same in AWS as well. So the thing is that we create our private network within our public network. So that is our plan here as well. That we're going to create our private network inside, and we're going to create a traffic flow. I'm going to explain the whole thing here. Also, then there is vNet peering, and there vNet to vNet. Suppose there is one virtual network you've created, and then you want to connect this virtual network to another virtual network. So there is that feature called vNet peering. We're going to talk about that. We're going to do a lab on that as well. But first of all, our scenario is that how to create a private network in our public cloud subscription. So our plan is that we're going to create our own vNet, and inside that vNet we're going to, so this is our vNet, and we're going to give an IP range here. Obviously, some IP range has to be given here. So when we go there, so some of us have different IP ranges. So at that time, we're going to check that what IP range we get. But once we create our own virtual network or private network here, then we can actually create our own subnets as well. And so this is exactly the same lab in terms of the lab steps. Well, not in terms of lab steps. In terms of the lab concept, it's exactly the same lab as in AWS, that we create two subnets there, and the two subnets are, one is public, one is private, and the virtual machine will be there. So I'm just going to explain the whole thing, but the concept is the same. It's just that the implementation is definitely different, a bit different from AWS. So what's the concept? We're talking about that first. So we create our own private vNet and for the company, and then we will create a public subnet and then private subnet. So we'll create a subnet, and that subnet will be called public subnet, and I'll tell you the reason why. And obviously the public subnet must have an IP range as well. And there will be a private subnet here. And what's the logic of that? Why are we doing this? So public subnet and private subnet. First of all, we understand, okay, we can create a vNet or virtual network or a private network of our own with private IP ranges. Second thing, we can create subnets inside. Okay, then what's the purpose of creating that? So first of all, this lab is to understand what are the features of networking provided by Azure. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, oh, okay, there's a comment, and we will use Bastion here. Yeah, we can use Bastion here. Bastion we already covered as well, and we can use here as well, definitely. So we can use Bastion, which means that we don't even need public IP in case you want to go that way. And Microsoft is actually recommending also to go for Bastion. So since we covered it, so obviously we will know now that how to do that, but let's go ahead. Yeah, public subnet and private subnet. So the logic behind that is about the scenario. First of all, why we're doing that, to understand how to create subnets, how to create routing tables, how to create a vNet, how to create network security groups or NSGs, what role they all play in creating our private network in Azure public cloud. So what are the terminologies? How does each thing work in Azure networking? So we're going to talk about all that. So in order to understand all the components or basic components of networking that are available by Azure for us, so we're going to do this lab now. So we're going to create one vNet, two subnets there. Why public, why private? I was explaining that. So our scenario is that there is a backend server, and it's a, well, we can say critical file server, suppose, that is having obviously critical files. So this file server, but it is in the backend, and or not backend, but it is in the private subnet, has a private IP, right? Private IP. Now this private subnet has a server which has a private IP, which means what? That you cannot connect from outside internet directly to this subnet, because there is no public IP given to any machine in this subnet for the outside internet traffic to be allowed in. So what we want to do is we want to have a traffic flow, proper traffic flow. So we will have a virtual machine here that is going to be receiving all the connections, and through this machine, whoever connects to this machine and go through all the security software, suppose you put all the security software here, and then that person can connect from within this machine to the private IP based machine in the private subnet. So suppose this virtual machine here is actually down, so there is no other way to connect to this virtual machine in the private subnet. Well, technically there are, but how we configure it, there is no other way other than you must connect to the public subnet over the internet, and then log or RDP into or bastion into this. Well, this scenario is about RDP, or the traffic access has been given to the people over the internet. If the people are coming from over the internet, not from the VPN, but over the internet, then they can't directly connect to this private subnet. They have to go through the public subnets, this virtual machine. They have to RDP into this, and then from there, another RDP connection has to be opened to go to this private private subnets virtual machine here. So why is that? So we could prove that, okay, we have control over traffic. Now, if anyone comes from over the internet, can't just directly go to our critical file server. It has to go through the traffic flow that we are creating now. So if we connect or let the user connect to the first public subnet and then the virtual machine here, this is the only way outsiders can connect to there. So we're going to create a virtual machine here as well. So this is the machine that will have a private IP. This machine will have a public IP here, and we can in fact name them as private VM, and we can name this one as public VM. Right? All the traffic must go through the public subnet to the private subnet. No way, no other way, right? Okay, so Chetan says in the chat, means this working as router to route traffic. Okay, yes, the overall concept would be the same, router, but obviously, as you know, the router is a very intelligent device. This is, you can say, a gateway. Yes, it could be, in fact, we can put a router there as well. Through the router, you can connect to our virtual machine in the public subnet. But yes, this is the main machine. We also call it a bastion VM, which means that, or jump box. The terminology within our offices and data centers is that this is the jump box. So it's kind of, you can say, router as well, that in terms that it's a gateway or the first thing you connect to. But it's basically a jump box, and it's not very intelligent as router. But yes, exactly, public VM. So so this is jump box. What is jump box? That you first jump into this through RDP, and from only there you can RDP again into the private VM, right? So that's why it's called a jump box. And jump boxes are very common concept in when you connect from even when you connect from VPN, you have to connect to some machine inside, and then you can connect to some machine, and from there you can RDP into other network. Although you can connect with IP. If you're connected through VPN, you can just put if you know the IP of the other machine in the network, you can just RDP there as well. But normally there are jump boxes. First you have to connect to some machine here in the network, and then from there only you can connect to any other machine you want. So that's the main objective here. Osman says, are we allowing all traffic or selected traffic for public VM? So here we're allowing all traffic because we are proving that over the internet, whoever comes, that traffic will have to go to this, to reach this file server. It has to go through our rules. And our rules are that first you have to connect to our public subnet, and from there you need to connect to our private subnet. So yes, this is a scenario where we're talking about traffic coming from internet, right? And Milab says, so the vNet for the private subnet has a layer 3 routing and DHCP server built in. Okay, so here, first of all, you would see even in AWS and in Azure, one thing is clear. Suppose you create here 2 subnets, or suppose you actually create here 200 subnets, right? So when you create maybe 20 subnets or 30 subnets, the route table between them is automatically created. Now route table enables routing or connects the 2 subnets within the vNet. So that is called route table here. And yes, it automatically enables routing between the 2 subnets. You can create your own route table as well, and through that you can just modify the traffic. Suppose if we talk about route table, now suppose the boss says, no, we're going to create actually 2 more subnets within our vNet, right? Suppose we create 2 more subnets within our vNet. So and now you want to actually allow traffic in your own way. Suppose the traffic wants to everyone will connect to public subnet, then everyone will connect to the private subnet. From private subnet only, you create a manually create a route table here from here to there, and from only this subnet you can connect to yet another subnet in the back end. So only this way the routing table, or you can just put the traffic. Okay, you can connect through public subnet to the private subnet to this third subnet, but you can also connect from public subnet directly to this subnet as well. And you just manually create another route table that enables routing between this subnet. Suppose actually this is a guest network. Maybe you want, if somebody does not have the proper credentials and the security did not or raise some suspicion, security software raise some suspicion, and the traffic is, or that person's connection is not being allowed to go inside this subnet. So okay, you can redirect that one to this guest subnet, which is not connected to anything else other than that. So you can just, so route tables are created manually as well, but by default route tables are created when you create two subnets. Suppose you create three subnets, automatically among three subnets the route table will be created, but we can remove it, we can add our own manual route table as well. And yes, so routing between the subnets is already available in AWS and Azure both, and Google Cloud, all three. And DHCP is also available automatically in each subnet in AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. So both of these are available for the subnets that we create ourselves, right? Chetan says, means other word can we say directly connected route? Exactly. So they are directly connected, automatically and directly connected. But if you want to remove, you can remove that too. Okay, so the two subnets, and we're going to check all that, and we're going to prove that yes, there's a route table there, and route table ID is this, and that ID is connected to this subnet as well as this subnet, right? So okay, vNet is, we will create a vNet, we will create two subnets. Obviously I still need to put that IP range there. Sometimes I go for 10.0.0.0 and some student says, oh, I already used that 10.0.0 with some other lab, so I have 10.1.0.0. So that's why I haven't put a range yet. When we create, then what a range we see there, I'll just put that range there. So anyway, this is our objective, to create two subnets to explore that can we actually make the traffic flow according to our rules, and nobody can connect directly to this private subnet, but if they connect from this. So how can we make this possible? We're going to create NSG that will only allow traffic from so this private subnet will only accept traffic from public subnet. We're going to configure it in such a way that this private subnet will not accept traffic from anywhere else other than the public subnet, right? So this is the way we can just manage our traffic flow or control our traffic flow. Then hey, you can't connect to that subnet directly. You have to jump. You have to go to the jump box, and from there only you can connect to our server in the background, right? Okay, Mohammed Awad says how many subnet I can create. In AWS, we can create 200 subnets. In Azure, the capacity is crazy. 1,000 subnet they say. And when we try to expand, then Microsoft goes down and there's an outage. So Microsoft, I don't know they have that, so 1,000, right? So if we go for vNet, Azure vNet limits and capacities, we can say. Okay, limits. IP virtual network 65,000, private IP addresses, DNS virtual networks. So they normally go for crazy limits and quotas. There you go. So if I go to this, so I'm just going to share this now, and you can check it out. And I'll put it here, limits and quotas, Azure limits and quotas. It has crazy limits, which is sometimes unthinkable, that how can they even arrange that. They just want to go ahead of AWS. They want to be the most powerful. So, and that, I don't know why then so many outages occur. They really have to control their capacities and limits. They should only offer what they can offer. That's what I'm trying to say here. But this document really shows all that, what we're trying to know. Okay, so security is only the reason that we create these rules. Oh yes, I'm going to be talking about security as well right now, because there's NSG, there is ACL, and there is firewall on OS level. There's a firewall on the vNet level. So there's a lot of security there options. But we were talking about limits here. So if I go to limits and management groups per Azure 8010, okay, that's 10,000 subscriptions per management group, unlimited. If I go down, so guys, I think we were there before in this class, Azure Cloud Services. Where's the vNet limits there? And wow, that's an ultimate document they have created for pretty much every limit there. So resource group limits, template limits. If I go Active Directory and then API, I'll just Control F and go vNet.
So I just want to know that only because of security we create these rules that we will create public subnet and private
Exactly.
subnet, or
Yes.
there's any other reason as well.
So we are securing the private subnet virtual machine, so there would be a critical virtual machine there. So yes, the main thing is the traffic flow is also controlled for the, exactly as you said, security reasons. So it's all about
Okay,
security.
okay, thank you.
And once subnet range becomes exhausted, can we add a second subnet to it to extend? So Milap, you can add a second subnet, third subnet, fourth subnet, and enable routing between them. And as I said that, suppose there's a subnet here, and all IPs are consumed here. You want to create another subnet there for any other reason as well. So you can just create another subnet, and simply routing table will be available between these subnets. Or we can just create a routing table. Hey, routing table, just connect for this new subnet to only the private subnet. Otherwise, there's a default route table that connects pretty much every subnet to every subnet. Maybe we don't want that. So yes, you can keep on adding more subnets and create route table between them, and then the route, if once routing is enabled, it's like the same LAN, and you can control the traffic between them. So yeah, I was just going for vNet. There are 8 areas where they have accessed or talked about vNet. So number of virtual network, vNet and IP config rules 128. We can peering up to 500 vNets. Ah, there you go. So maximum number of routes advertised from Azure private peering from the vNet address space for an express route. That's 200. Okay. vNet address prefixes 600 per VPN gateway. Ouch. AWS has maybe 50 or 60 VPN connections. They are going for hundreds and thousands. Really. I mean, okay. Anyway, vNet connections per hub. They're not that resourceful as they are talking about capacities here. But so that's why sometimes it seems like unrealistic. vNet connections per hub, 500 minimum, and VM workload across all vNets connected to single virtual machine, 50 Gbps. Okay, so pretty much that's it. You know what? Let me just put subnet here. Minimum Azure firewall size is /26. That's the minimum. Then by default, Azure subnet has 000. Yeah, we know that. Did we mention subnets per 3000? Okay, this is not 1000. This is subnets per virtual network 3000. Are you kidding me? AWS has a realistic limit of 200 subnets. That's it. You can create 3000 subnets in vNet. Are you kidding? Oh yeah, 1000 is for virtual networks. So that's why I visited here just to confirm the numbers. Virtual networks, you can create 1000 virtual networks, and subnets per virtual network 3000. So yes, the only comment I have, are you kidding me? So anyway, obviously if they say, they must be supporting that too. Okay. So this document is really important. Then it's in one place they have arranged all the limits. That's very good about them. In this one page, you can just check anything about, okay, how much of that we have, how much of this we have. Okay. Private FDS virtual networks 85,000. Really. Oh, so I'm just gonna go back here, and we were discussing. Yeah. So there are questions. We can peering up to 500 VNets. There you go. So 500 vNets we can pair. Wow. Milab says, can a VM be part of two vNets? So you have to have two network adapters connected there, and just like in your, suppose we are in a data center in Toronto branch, so our virtual machine or a physical machine can be part of two subnets as well. But when it comes to vNet, if you enable peering, yes, it's accessible from the other subnet, but can it be part of the other IP range? Well, you can connect that network adapter and give it that range, yes. Then the virtual machines of another vNet through peering can connect to it as well. But the peering has to be connected, and peering, our topic is still coming. Okay, guys, so we were talking about our basic vNet and then two subnets there. Then that document really explains that we can have 3,000 subnets and 1,000 vNets. Whew. Okay, so anyway, what is our purpose here? Purpose was to connect, to make, to control traffic flow and to understand the components of networking in Azure. So what about that security that Usman was also talking about? Do we have security? Obviously, we should have security, right? So there is ACL on the subnet level. So if we, okay, let it go away, and okay. So ACL, access control list, on the subnet level. There is access. So access control list does what? Like a firewall, blocks and allows ports, and blocks and allows traffic from source and destination IP addresses, access control lists. And then we have, that is on subnet level. Then we have here NSG, that is connected network security group, NSG. What does that do? Exactly the same, allows and blocks traffic to and from different destinations and sources. So that is NSG, network security group. Network security group. That's NSG, right? And then this is also allows. This also connects to subnet plus VM. So if I go for connects to subnet and VM, and then we have firewall on the OS level. OS level firewall, that is on every OS, right? So that's OS level firewall. That obviously is firewall. It also allows and blocks ports. Then we also have a vNet level firewall. So a firewall, stateful firewall, we can say stateful firewall on vNet level, connects to vNet, right? So that stateful firewall is all the advanced firewalls are stateful firewall. The firewalls that we have in our DSL routers are stateless firewalls. Stateful firewalls really go dig down deep into, okay, who's connecting, how long it is connecting, is the origin secure, how, and what are the session rules there. So NSG works like a firewall, exactly. NSG, so can we also say NSG equals firewall? So yes, NSG works like a firewall, allows and blocks traffic. Network security group. So we're going to create that, and we're going to check it out. In fact, we created that in our load balancing lab as well. So network security group allows, blocks traffic to and from whichever IP address to whichever IP address. Access control list is on subnet level. Firewall, stateful firewall, is on vNet level, and then OS level, you already have a firewall. Then whatever security software you want to put, IPS or intrusion prevention systems, and IDS, intrusion detection systems, whatever security software you want to create, you can create those as well, or install on the jump box. Obviously, all the security will be there: antivirus, anti-malware, and other security software. So this is overall what we are going to try to do. So first we're going to create a vNet and two subnets. We're going to make sure that we allow internet traffic, Now those who have done the AWS lab, you would know that we had to create a gateway in VPC in AWS. Exactly same lab we were creating in AWS, but there we have to create a separate internet gateway to actually let the internet traffic come to our own created VPC. Here in AWS, in Azure, you don't have to create a gateway. As soon as you create your own vNet, automatically Azure will provide traffic from internet unless you want to block it, right? So that's the difference. So we're going to create our vNet to subnets. Now this allow internet traffic, and here allow traffic only from public subnet, right? So this subnet can only accept traffic from the next one, public subnet. So we need to configure it that way. And then the virtual machine obviously will have a private IP here. And this one actually we're giving public IP, otherwise we can also make it private IP as well, bastion based, right? But we're pretending that actually the traffic is coming from internet, and it can only reach public subnet, but it cannot go out directly from internet to the private subnet. So that's why we need traffic from internet. Okay, so these are some of the components that we talked about, and we're going to create this vNet, and we're going to discuss all the options there. Then we're going to create subnet and discuss all the options, and we're going to create network security groups and discuss the options there as well. So there will be NSG created for this. NSG here allows, as we said, allows traffic or all traffic. And then we will have an NSG here. Well, I just wrote it, but it's the NSG that's going to do it for us. Allows public subnet traffic. Public subnet only traffic. Then we're going to extend this network to go for peering, vNet peering as well later, right? Okay, so now what happens next is we can just start creating and then discussing many of the terminology that are coming our way. But this is the overall scenario that we need to create vNet, we need to create subnets, two subnets, and then we need to create two virtual machines, we need to create two NSGs there, network security groups, and then go ahead from there and check that once we make a RDP connection to the public machine, from within the public machine, can we connect to the private machine or not? If you connect to the private machine, you're good. Everything else is correct. If you cannot connect to the private IP, private machine, then yeah, there's something wrong with some of the steps here, right? Okay, so before we start, yeah, I was just looking at the chat that when Mohammed will tell us, Mohammed will tell us. So thank you, sir. And so guys, 10-minute break, right? 10? Short break, right? So, okay. So let's take a 10-minute break and then come back. So, which means run, break. Classes starts 6:46 then. Okay, 10-minute break. And what we were talking about was okay, so here we talked about the vNet, the public subnets, the route table, how the traffic should, how do the traffic we plan to create or traffic flow, and then how NSGs will work for both machines. So in order to do that, let's go ahead and try to achieve this. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to create that another diagram. This was just for understanding, but as we create, we will then talk about what's going on there. So I'm just going to create one vNet here, and I'm just giving some space for the next vNet that we will be creating later, hopefully today. So let's create our vNet. You can say vNet 1, because later we will create vNet 2 if time allowing. So when we go for creating our vNet, so we're going to create our two subnets as well at the same time. Ready? So let's go for that. So, and that would be public subnet, private subnet. So let's reach this point first of all, public subnet, and obviously I'm just leaving it for the IP range. Public subnet, actually, you know what? Public subnet vNet 1. Let's just put that, public subnet vNet 1. Why? Later we need to create vNet 2 as well. So right now, public subnet vNet 1 and private subnet vNet 1. Private subnet vNet 1. So we're going to create two subnets here, and IP ranges as we give, we're going to give those IP ranges here as well. The main thing here is that if it is public, so obviously must have public IPs given, and if it is private, must not have public IP. So we're going to check that if subnets allow us to do that, and only private IPs. So subnets not to do that, or do we have to go to NSG and tell the NSG or network security group that how to do that? So let's reach this level first and give our IP ranges as well here, and then we're going to come back for the next stage. Okay, so now says in order to allow internet access to private subnet VMs, we have to use proxy to the jump box for only port 8443. So yes, if you are talking about the internet traffic there, yes, you have to then allow only specific ports on this. So I'm going to show you that how to do that. We're going to actually allow only RDP port there, but we can add these ports when we are adding RDP. So it's the NSG or network security group that we create. One NSG for public subnet, one NSG for private subnet, and NSG for private subnet will have the specific ports allowed from this specific public subnet private IP range there. So yeah, when we reach there, yeah, we can just add as many ports or whichever ports we want. Okay guys, so let's reach this first and then go from here. So how to create the first VNet and then the two subnets. So let's go back to our Azure, and in Azure, what do we see there is that I'm just going to go for portal menu, and in portal menu, I'll just go down to the virtual networks, this one. So portal menu, and then down to virtual networks. So that also appears here as well, or in the search you can also do that, but we can go down to virtual net and works. Once we click the virtual networks here, then well, it should be empty, and within the virtual network, now we could have created the resource group before, but during the VNet creation we can also create that. So let's click that. Within the virtual network we can click the add button, and once we click the add button here, so the wizard should start for creating a new VNet. Should start. Oh, what happened? Okay. What? I think I did click add button here. Alright, so I'm there. Create virtual network screen, and in the create virtual network screen here, let's just create our resource group for today. So let's click the create new here, and as we always create the resource group RG and today's date 14Oct2020. So that's and your first name. So let's press O and K for the resource group name for today with today's date. And once you press OK, so the resource group is created, and we're going to attach all the today's resources to this particular resource group. Then we go for the name here, and we can just keep it simple, vNet 1. Why 1? Because later we intend to create vNet 2 as well for vNet peering lab. So vNet 1, and make sure it is on this region, East US, and the rest of the resources are also in the East US. Okay, now once this is pretty simple and straightforward, but on the page 1. But then we go to the IP address. So let's click next here for the IP address. And you can see that I have 10.0.0/16. I think everyone has 10.0.0/16. Suppose you did create, used up this range, then you might see 10.1.0.0. But if you see 10.0.0, it's okay. If you see 10.1.0.0, just remember you have that. Yeah. Oh.
East US, sorry?
Yeah, it's East US.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So yes, Chintan says that can we change it to 172.16? Yes, we can change it to the 3 private IP ranges, 192.168, 172.16, or 10.0.0, whichever you want. It's exactly the same thing. So yeah, you can change it to any of the 3 private IP ranges. And so here, the range is this 10.0.0.16, and oh, what happened? Hey, it went back automatically to the previous screen. I didn't click that. So the technical reason for that.
Today Azure is working really.
Yeah, Azure.
It happens to me as well.
Oh, okay. So it went back just by itself. Oh man, where's my resource group? I just created that. What? Okay. So the only technical reason for that would be our machine is haunted. Oh. Okay. Whoa, what happened? I just created that. Okay, RG and 14Oct2020, your first name, and then press ONK, and then vNet 1, that's it. East US and next IP addresses. Okay, so let's go down to the first one. So you can see that there's one subnet, or by default subnet is already there, right? Okay, so Milab says, where is the 10.0.0/16 used if we are creating private subnets, which will have its own range? Yes. So you can see the private range here as well. /24 from this /16, it's being used here in the private subnet. So we can just change it if you want. You can change it to like 17 or slash, but don't go for /24 here on the vNet range, because the subnets will go for this. So this is just overall we can give to the vNet, and you can actually create 3,000 subnets, so that's why it's okay to have class B. And Chintan says same thing, sometime not open screen with one click. Yeah, exactly. All right. So, okay guys, one subnet is there, but I don't want to name this subnet as default subnet. Although, yes, the range is okay, but the name is not okay. So this subnet is already going to get created. So first we're gonna change the name of the default subnet to public subnet vNet 1, and also then later we're gonna click the add subnet and create the second subnet, which will be private subnet vNet 1 as well. And we're going to give a separate private range to that second subnet as well. So the range is there, but I just need to click on the default now to change the name of the default subnet. I'm going to click that default here. I think I hope everyone is seeing the same exact thing. So just change the default to, okay, now it says can we create 172 range within this vNet 10.16, or this is only possible under vNet of range 170. No, well, if your main range is 10, then your subnets have to be 10. If your main range is 172, then your subnet will be 172. So you cannot have 172 up there and 10 here. Okay, so here default, and I'm gonna go for public subnet vNet 1. Right? So public subnet vNet 1, or pub sub vNet 1, you can just call it anything. Okay, so the private range is already there, which is okay. And then it says that service endpoints, hey, do you want to connect to storage servers, or do you want to connect to Cosmos DB, you want to connect to Azure Active Directory. So this can be, so this subnet can be connected to any of the services, but right now, and this can be enabled anytime after creation of the subnet as well. So right now we'll keep it as 0, and we change the name here and click save. Okay, and then public subnet vnet 1, and then I'm going to go for add subnet. I will make sure that there's another IP range /24 given there, and its name is private subnet vnet 1. So I'm going to click that, add subnet. So then there is private subnet vnet 1. It's still part of the vnet 1, obviously, but it's a private subnet. Suppose you had multiple public subnets and multiple private subnets, then public subnet 1 vnet 1, public subnet 2 vnet 1, public subnet 3 vnet 1. It could have been like that. So what's the IP range we need to give? So 10.0.0/24 is there for the first subnet. So 10.0.1.0/24 we can give to the second subnet. So the second last octet obviously will change to give the second subnet, third subnet 10.0.20, fourth subnet 10.0.30, fifth subnet 10.0.40, and so on. Okay, so that's the second subnet, but we're naming it private subnet, but it hasn't become private yet until we configure the traffic flow. So yep, private subnet vnet 1 and 10.0.10/24, and click the add button. Okay, so it should look like this now. The main vnet IP range. Suppose you create a second vnet. So second vnet then can be 10.100/16 or 10.0.10/16. That could be second subnet. Third, the second vnet, and then third vnet, fourth vnet. We're gonna later create a second vnet as well. So anyway, here let's go to security. Okay, basically it should be under 10 network. Yeah, you're saying about vnet or subnet, Chintan? So the vnet range can be this, but yes, it's second vnet can be 172 public and private subnet range. Normally when you give a big IP range, then you create sub networks or smaller networks of the 10, right? So that's why the second has to be then 10 as well, right? Public and private subnet range. So but if you go for 172 on the main IP range, so its sub networks or smaller networks or smaller segments have to be cut out from this range, right? So but you can create a separate vnet and give it 172. In fact, we're going to do that. We're going to create a separate second vnet later. We're going to give it 192, 168 or 172.16. You can give it to the other vnet, not this one. Okay, because it already has 10. But we can change it from here 172.16, and then we can give the two subnets 172.16.0, 172.16.1. That's how we can go. But the main IP range subnets will follow that range. Okay, guys, we have to actually select this as well. In other course, sometimes I forget this. Thank God I remember this. It's not going to create if we don't select that. So okay, make sure if you went ahead with security page, go click previous and make sure that you selected the two subnets. Then it will create. If it's unselected, it's not going to create. All right. Let us, after selecting these two checkboxes, let's click security. In the security, there's a bastion host. It is saying, hey, you want to connect through the browser with private IPs, or you want to connect through the public IP. So how about for this whole VNet, we can actually go for, so, a bastion is created, one bastion subnet is created for the whole VNet, right? So for this particular VNet, suppose you actually went up to the 3000 subnets there. If for bastion, you just need to have one bastion subnet per VNet, and then you can connect from browser to any of the 3000 subnets there. 1,000 vNets you can create in Azure, 3,000 subnets per vNet you can create, right? So if there were 3,000 subnets in this vNet, you still need just one bastion subnet, so you can connect from browser with public or private IP ranges. So since we are here and we didn't create the bastion this way, so how about we enable bastion now here? We create the bastion the other way, that we first created the vNet. Once the vNet was fully created, then we create the bastion. Now, while the vNet is creating, let's create that too. So bastion name, oh yeah, Azure bastion subnet. It has to be exactly the same name. Azure, oh, it says here as well. Thank God. It cannot be different than this. So in fact, I'll just simply copy this. I'm not sure about case sensitivity, but well, I'm not taking chances. So Azure bastion subnet, no space, A big, A capital, B capital, S capital. Although I think it's not case sensitive, but I'm not taking chances. So okay, and what is the IP range? Whatever is the next available IP range, we can give it to this bastion subnet. But this bastion subnet for itself will need a public IP for you to reach this bastion subnet, and from there connect to the private machines. So here, what is the next IP range available? 10.0.2.0/24. So that's the next available, because we already took 10.0.10 and 10.0.0.0, right? So that's the next available, 10.0.20. Suppose it was 10.0.250.0, so it would have been that we would have given. Okay, and public IP address for the bastion to work, public IP addresses has to be allotted to it. So let's click create new here for the public IP address. So click create new. So now suppose you keep it disabled, obviously we still will be able to connect. This is just an easier way that you don't have to download the RDP connection. You can just connect from within the browser as well. So that's that facility. And you can even connect to the machine that only has a private IP from within the browser. So this makes you very portable as well. Okay, so but here for the bastion to work, you need to allot it an IP address. Okay, SAP says 256 addresses, MS allow make mistakes. MS also make mistakes. Oh, Microsoft, okay. 256 addresses. Yeah, it says that overall it's 256 addresses, but it actually allots. Oh, there you go. In this case, we are going to create 3 subnet in total. Yes, so one bastion, which if you don't make that, still our lab will work. We're just making it just to gain more experience with that, because it is more secure still, because you can connect from browser to the private virtual machines as well. And in some of the newer labs of Azure, I've seen that they are going for bastion a lot more now than before. So Microsoft is really recommending and pushing us towards using bastion. So well, why not then? Why not go for the latest trend? Okay. And out of 256, one is reserved for broadcast and one for gateway. Actually, they have set aside 5 IP addresses per subnet, and for management purposes. So 5 or 6, I think. But they will mention that when we have created that subnet. Okay, guys, let's click the create new for public IP. I'm going to click create new, and all you need to do is give a name there. So your first name, PIP. PIP is public IP, right? Your first name, public IP. Just something to recognize, and that's it. So just give it a name, your first name, public IP, and press OK. Okay, then so bastion we can create during the creation of the vNet as well, and this is the way to create it. And now we know both ways to create bastion. Once how to create when the vNet is already created, or how to create when the vNet is being created. So DDoS, distributed denial of service protection standard. So there's a standard one that is free, and there are many ways that denial of service attacks happen. So the standard is or basic protection is free, while if you enable, okay, standard is actually not the basic. There is a basic that even with disabled you have that, but with standard you have more protection from advanced types of denial of service attacks. So we don't need to enable that. And then there is firewall here, and that is Azure Firewall is a managed cloud-based network security service that protects your Azure virtual network resources. You can enable that even after creating the vNet, but I did the mistake of enabling that in when I was on pay-as-you-go, and I may have been reckless or I forgot to follow up, but they charged me dearly for that. I think nearly $100 or more or less for enabling a firewall. Just enabling. I deleted that in 4 hours. Anyway, but this is stateful firewall. This is advanced one. Okay, Malab says, would a DDoS also not affect Azure DC overall, even though they issue one IP to our servers? Well, DC will be affected, or any machine will be affected if the DDoS, first of all, protection is not enabled. Then it will affect whatever comes their way. So obviously it will affect the DC as well, even if one public IP is given. If it's private IP, then yes, it's more secure. But if it has public IP and publicly available, then we are more vulnerable towards DDoS attacks. Okay, so let's keep it disabled, the firewall, and disable the DDoS, and click tags. So once we click tags here, we can just put some value there, name, and it's vNet lab, right? So just put something there. vNet lab, and in production environment, obviously we would put some meaningful information. Let's click review plus create and 8. So let's review plus create, and then validation passed. Okay, that's what we wanted to see. And then create. All right, yay. So once you create that, then we go inside and check it out, that how many subnets are there and what's the configuration of the subnets. We can also go for the NSGs now. So my vNet 1 is okay. And your first name, third IP. It's still creating. Okay. Hopefully any of the Azure services not down today. So we actually have 3 subnets now, 1 bastion, but that's for the whole vNet. And then whatever number of subnets you create, just 1 bastion subnet is enough for the whole vNet to connect through browser to any machine. Deployment to resource group is in progress. Wow, really? Guys, is it done for you, or it's just mine? Yesterday's class, my Exchange Server 2016 class going on in George Brown College, so my local machine went really slow. I think it's the slow week. Oh, okay, so it's not done for you as well. Okay. Oh, okay. So Azure has become laggy. Hmm. Well, maybe that outage is, some of the after effects, ripple effects of outage that happened last week or the week before, I guess. Uh-oh. Trial remaining credit is 243. Click here to upgrade to pay as you go. So guys, I'll try again to create another free account. Hopefully they let me. And I have to close down this account. Man, 4 years I had been working on pay as you go, but I did try those times to create a free account. Couldn't. Now I think they have become more generous. Wow, seriously? Deployment in progress. Okay. Because, we could have gone for NSG, but resource group has to be there to create NSG, and some of the things here needs to be there. I mean, the vNet has to be there for NSG to connect to. Otherwise, we could have created an NSG by now, but we need the vNet to be in place first. Wow. Oh, done. Okay. So this means, oh, we will wait. Oh, okay. Oh, so Mohammedabad is also done. Chintan is also done. So this means I should move to Cambridge or Brampton, right? Scarborough is just not too good now. Oh, Niagara. Oh, sorry. I thought Mohammedabad you were in Cambridge. Who was saying he's in Cambridge? Sorry, I mixed up. Niagara Falls. Okay. More population. More population. So yeah, better services because of more population. Okay. So that's how it is. Niagara is the best. Okay. Hmm. Wow. Okay. Amazon Prime delivery. No, Amazon Prime delivery was very good in Scarborough. Came in 2 days. Oh, I think that's what it does. Yeah. Seriously, I think I should tell my kids to stop watching YouTube. Ah, whoa, this is not, I mean, this never happened to me. Is it my machine as well? Doesn't take that much time. It's purely internet. Obviously, that has nothing to do with the machine. Still not checking 45% is. Yeah. Oh, bandwidth. Not much pressure. Should I refresh? Oh, I was thinking that I saw the message there. Oh, yes, you're right. If I refresh, I lose everything. Oh, okay, the refresh talk was going on. Yeah, this during deployment we cannot refresh. You're right. Okay, while this is going on, so our next steps are that so the IP range would be this.
Just question till your computer. Yeah, if how to connect from on premises like AWS to Azure hybrid cloud. Is any way just to configure the VPN IPsec from on premises to Azure, or how will happen?
Oh, okay. So we did a lab on just between AWS site to site. So you're talking about point to site then, right? So yeah, okay. I'll then try to give the point to site here in Azure because we've already covered site to site in AWS. Those who haven't done AWS course and have access to the videos can go to the site to site VPN. So here, point to site, which you're saying is from on-premises to cloud. It's just that I'll check that if we don't need a public certificate that needs to be purchased. Otherwise, so yeah, point to site is sure we can go for that. It's upcoming labs now. How to connect from there, point to site. Sure, we'll do. So, Okay, so here I will go for the IP range here is public is 10.0.0.0/24 and private is 1, right? So this is our IP configuration still now. And it's not done. Yay! Serious. Okay, so I'll just go to resource group, and in resource group, if I go inside the resource group here, so public IP has been given, Boston subnet has been created, vNet1. If I go inside vNet1 in this, and subnet is just getting created. Oh, actually, all three are showing here created, and but obviously it's not done in the background. So there's some so deployment progress. I'm going to click that deployment in progress. So and I'm going to go for operation details. Oh, actually the Bastion subnet, it says created here, vnet okay, and it still has some refresh going on here. If I go for operation details here, okay, so it's just not the continuous information that it's giving. But not sure why it's taking forever. But I think someone else said, oh, okay, Sman is also seeing the same thing. So it's Mississauga and Scarborough. We need to move away from these places. And so, yep, Niagara and Brampton are still in the lead. Okay, so as I was saying that we can go for another one. Oh, another one. So the next steps are that first we're going to check if the public subnet, is there any settings there that tells us about the enabling the public IP or disabling the public IP. We're going to check it there, and we're going to check in private subnet as well that anywhere we have a checkbox for public or private IP. Normally it is in NSG. So I'm just going to go for NSG here. So we're going to go for NSG once it is created, and we're going to create NSG public and vNet1, and then we're going to create NSG private vNet1, right? So the public NSG vNet1, we have to, so obviously it's the 0.0.0.0/0 and it's RDP, right? So this traffic from anywhere allowed to the public subnet. So this NSG public vNet1 will be attached to the public VM that we're about to create. So will be attached to public VM and public subnet, right? So that would be our main configuration for the first vNet, for first NSG, and then the private NSG, it will accept traffic from 10.0.0.0/24, and it will be accepting RDP traffic, or you can also go for 80 and 443 or 1433 for SQL. So whichever traffic you want to allow, but it's accepting only traffic from the 10/24 network, and obviously will be attached to private VM and private sub and net. So that will be attached to private VM and private subnet, and so we're going to create that, but I still need to check it out. Oh, I have tears in my eyes now, and these are tears of happiness, and so it's just done. It's done. Okay, anyway, so let's go ahead and try to, that's it. So I'm just going to go to the vNet here. How? I'm going to go to the portal menu on the top left, and then go down to the virtual networks. Let's go to the virtual networks. All right, so maps is done as well. That's great. And hopefully Usman's is also done. Otherwise, only Usman has to move. I'll stay in Scarborough now. Okay, so here, vNet 1, let's go inside the vNet 1 here, and then go to subnets. Usman, still waiting? Man, don't tell me you have Bell. Okay, so, okay, anyway, subnets, and then in the subnets, we see the 3 subnets here, right? Oh, okay. No, I meant that if you have Bell, just don't tell me that you have. Just kidding. Okay. So here, once inside the vNet and in the subnets, public subnet vNet 1, I'm just going to go inside that. Why are we going inside? Just to check. Now, in AWS VPC, when you create a subnet, there is a subnet level feature called do you need public IPs or not? So I'm going to the Azure subnet and trying to check. All right, so I'm going to try to check inside that can we allow or not allow public IPs. So that feature is not here. Yes, we can allow any other type of traffic. We can allow gateways here, but routing tables here, but no, there is no do you want public IPs or not, no such traffic. So this means that if it's not on the subnet level, that you can select that, hey, this subnet will not have any public IPs. If you can't configure it here, so that you have to configure it in the network security groups or NSGs. So, okay, I'm just going to cancel that here, checking that in the subnet I can't do anything to make it public, and okay, cancel. And in the subnet I cannot do anything to make it private. We just named them, but they actually are not, this has, configuration has not been implemented yet. They're just named as public private. They're not actually public private yet. So it's the NSG that's going to make that difference, right? So if this has been created, then let's go and create the 2 network security groups as well. And according to our diagram, so we need to create these 2 guys here. So let's go for network security group, NSG public vNet 1 and NSG private vNet 1. So we're going to separately create that. After that, we're going to go for first virtual machine and second virtual machine and connect that virtual machine to the proper public VM to the public subnet and public NSG private virtual machine to the private subnet and private NSG. So let's go for NSGs now and create them. So I'll just go back here. Now this vNet level, it's okay. So we can go to the search here and type NSG. So in AWS, the security group, it is called security group there, and it is called NSG or network security group here. Exactly the same concepts, but the thing is that there you have EC2 dashboard. EC2 is the virtual machine dashboard there, where you find the security group for virtual machine here. It's a separate service. You just have to search it across in Azure, and then attach it. Yeah.
I'm just talking about in my vNet when I cannot see public subnet or private subnet.
You
I
cannot.
can see Azure Bastion subnet, but I cannot see private or public subnet.
You cannot see private and public subnet. If you cannot see, this means that, well, did you refresh?
Yes, I have done that.
If you cannot, then you have to create them by clicking the plus subnet. Why? You cannot see because I think you did not press those checkboxes there. So
I did it.
Yeah, so those checkboxes are not pressed, then they won't be created.
Actually, I can see that. I can see that, yeah.
You can see the checkboxes or you can see the subnets?
I can see the subnets now.
Oh, okay. Hey,
Yeah.
so in Mississauga, it's that slow.
I guess too late.
Okay, so it's that slow. Man, I'm never moving to Mississauga now. And especially, I'll go for a Rogers if I had to move. Okay, so let's go ahead. And so yeah, we were going for our NSG here. So once we type the NSG here, so you can see network security group, and let's click the network security groups here. In the network security group, you can go for obviously the first network security group for public. So let's click the add button for network security group here. Once you click the add button, then it shows you that which source group you want for the network security group. Network security groups are attached to the subnet, And the virtual machine. What are network security groups? To allow and block ports to and from different public IP addresses, right? Or private IP addresses. So I'm going to go for resource group, and the one that we created, we're going to select that. And then the naming of that. So if I go for the diagram, it is NSG public vNet 1. Okay. NSG public vNet 1, and make sure it is East US, otherwise you won't see it if it's on another region. So it's resource group and region East US, and the name, let's click tags. And in the tag, it's just the name and the public NSG vNet 1. I'll just put some information. So, and then let's just click review plus create. So review plus create. And then create. So, well, obviously when it's created, then we can further configure it. So let's click create. Okay, it's created. So we can click the go to resource, or we can go for just click on the search, and you will see in the recent services whatever you have already used recently. So network security group is showing in the search in the under the recent services anyway. So I'm just going to click that network security groups dashboard. So and refresh here, and there you go. No network security group yet. Seriously? Are you kidding me? Am I doing something wrong? Oh yeah, so it's the same thing. So it's the competition between Mississauga and Scarborough right now. So, oh, there you go. So it's just a matter of time. Ouch. Okay, sentence says wait for some time. Okay, got it. Thank you. Okay, so, so it's Mississauga took the lead, so Scarborough is behind now. Okay, let's see some other service. So, okay, here, once you have created that, let's go inside that and configure it to allow traffic from over the internet, right? So click that, and once you click that, so here we can see inbound security rule, and let's click that inbound security rule. And in the inbound security rule, obviously we're allowing inbound traffic of RDP from anywhere. So I'm just going to click the add button in the inbound security rule. So let's click the add here. So it's coming from anywhere, yes. And source port range is any, yes. Destination is no, that's going to be our 3389, right? Protocol any, or you can just specifically say, no, I want to confirm TCP here. It should just confirm my connection. It should be a reliable connection, right? So TCP and action is already allow. So then priority is okay, 100, but the name we can also give RDP here. So three changes here, 3389 in the destination port range, TCP selected, and then name is RDP. So this is the inbound rule for the NSG public vNet 1. And destination port ranges, right? So it says that provide a single port such as 80, a port range such as 1024 up to 65,000, or a comma separated list of single ports and or port ranges like 80, comma 1024, and then range as well, right? So we could just give here more ports, like if I put comma here and port 80, we're not going to use that, but just to give an example, and comma 443, if I put that and click anywhere else, so then I can also put here, we don't need that, but just to show that we can do that too. So RDP, HTTP, and no commas here, I think. So RDP, HTTP, comma what? Oh yeah, it's HTTPS. HTTPS, does it? Yeah, it accepts that. So this is how we can put it as well. Can we assign destination IP range 10.0.1.0? Destination IP range. Well, destination IP range is, well, it's actually any here. Why it is any? Because we just have one poor computer here, so it's gonna come only to one virtual machine inside that one public subnet. Suppose you have multiple virtual machines and you want the traffic to be exactly coming to only one, or be allowed to come to only one, yes, then that's a very good idea to go for destination and specific IP address. If you want to go ahead, yes, you can give the IP address whatever it gets, whatever it gets. We haven't created the virtual machine yet, and you can always come back here and change that. Hey, I just want in public subnet, suppose you have 5 or 6 virtual machines, I just want that particular virtual machine to be connected to. So yes, that's a good idea as well. Okay, so here for now any, because we just have one machine and we don't need those ports, but this is how we can put more ports and then actually put that here, the names as well on the ports. Let's click add. We just need 3389, so that is added. That's good enough. So let's click add here, right? And so that's the inbound selected, but that's one thing. Second thing is that you can see it's NSG connects to subnets as well as virtual machines. So virtual machines are not there yet, so we can connect this public NSG to a public subnet. So there's a subnet here as well. After the rule is created, let's click the subnets now and connect it to only the public subnet. So once you go to the subnet, you can go to associate. And in the associate, you can go to the vNet 1. Okay. And in the vNet 1, you actually have 3 subnets. Obviously, this is for the public subnet vNet 1. So I'm going to select that, public subnet vNet 1. So that's pretty straightforward. Just associate, select the correct vNet, select the correct subnet. That's all, right? And press O and K. Right? So press O and K. Alright, so once that is selected, then okay, so that's what we need to do with NSG public vNet 1. Now let's create the NSG private vNet 1. So how do we create that? We can go to the left side, add button here. Suppose you don't see the add button here, you can go to portal menu and go down to, oh, actually not portal menu, sorry. It's going to be search and then network security group here. It's going to take you to the dashboard here, and there's the add button here as well. So I'll click that so I could see already that there's NSG public vNet 1, but let's click the add button here. So I'm going to click the add button, and now we're going to carefully create the private one as well. So first of all, it is asking for resource group, and it is our today's resource group. Then we go for the naming convention should be taken always seriously. NSG private vNet 1. Okay. NSG private vNet 1. Yeah. NSG private vNet 1. Make sure it is East US. Make sure it is East US. And click tags. And name. So some information, NSG for private, maybe I did not put that in the sunset now, subnet and VM. So this is going to be created for both. So if I haven't given that detail in the first NSG in production environment, I would do that. Here it's okay. So review plus create. And create. So validation passed. So once you click create, then let's just configure carefully the inbound for this one, because it's going to be, we have to mention which subnet it is accepting traffic from. So we need to be careful there. So it is created already, and I can click the go to resource, or I'll go for the dashboard, search, and then network security group. Search and network security group. And yeah, it's gonna appear one day, Monday or Sunday. Monday. Oh, there you go. So NSG public vNet 1, and that's it. So I'm just going to go for private now. So NSG private vNet 1, right? Vaga says, are we going to create NSG for Bastion? No. So for Bastion, that's it. What we did there, that's all we do. And we cannot create anything. We're not allowed to create anything in the Bastion subnet. You cannot create a virtual machine inside, and Bastion is just for connectivity through browser. So we cannot actually use it like other subnets. Okay. So here, let's go inside NSG private vNet 1. Private, make sure it is private, and then we go down to inbound security rules of the NSG private vNet 1 as well. So inbound security rules of NSG private vNet 1, make sure it's private, and click the add button. Once we click the add button, so now our scenario is that this subnet is only accepting traffic from private subnet is only accepting traffic from the public subnet. So we're going to configure it this way. If we go back here, now the source is not any, it is actually an IP range, and that's the IP range of the public subnet. So IP address, we're going to select the IP address here and then go for 10.0.0.0/24. So that's the IP range of our public subnet that we already know. So public subnet is 10.0.0/24. Okay, so that's where it's accepting the traffic from. And source port range, yeah, you can be specific or any source port range. And then destination again would be this 3389. We're just hopping from here to there to check our connectivity and traffic flow. So 3389 for the destination, or multiple ports can be put as well. We know now how to do that. So 339 TCP, and RDP is the name. So 4 changes now. We changed IP address, in fact 5 changes. IP address, then put the actual IP range of the public subnet. Then 3389 is the only traffic that we are creating here. TCP and allow is, or TCP we select, and then name is RDP. So these are the changes we did. So how do we allow internet here? So yeah, if you want to allow internet, then we have to create a NAT gateway for this subnet, and behind a NAT gateway can provide internet to these machines. Otherwise, no internet here. You know, that said, we're gonna check now if the private subnet virtual machine actually has an internet or not, because I think in some other last class or last course, the internet was actually there, even though it was a private VM and a private subnet. So we're just allowing RDP, but I don't know why internet was still there, and we didn't need NAT for that, and it was just private IP. So yeah, we're gonna check that now. Otherwise, yes, then yeah. So how it is placed there? Then the gateway has to be attached here to this private subnet, and that's the NAT gateway. From there, the internet is gone. It's placed to the private VMs. But I don't know why the private VMs still had internet while we did not put any NAT gateway there. Okay, guys. So if this has been carefully put in, then let's click add. Let's click add. So once the inbound security rule has been confirmed for NSG private vNet 1 as well, then we can go also and configure subnet for this particular NSG as well, and we know which subnet this particular NSG to connect to. So it will be private subnet. I'm going to click the subnet here for the private vNet 1, and you know how to do that. Associate. There's only one vNet that we created, vNet 1. And among the subnets, it's the private subnet vNet 1 this time. Private subnet vNet 1. Alright, and press ONK. Okay, so so far we have configured our vNet and the two subnets, and the NSGs are ready to actually control our traffic flow. So the only thing remaining is what about the route table? So Mohammed says, so what about the route table? So routing is enabled by default. So if we go to, so routing is enabled by default, but normally we can go to vNet for that. So I'm just gonna keep this, or NSG, if NSG is done, we can actually go for portal menu here and go down to virtual networks, right? So in virtual network, there is vNet 1, right? In AWS, it is more transparent that which route table is connected to every subnet. But here, if you go to vNet, so there is address space, connected subnets there. Now, first of all, I'm just gonna go for subnets and check out if any of the subnet is giving away information about the route tables there. There's gateway subnet, there is subnet, nope. So if we go separately for diagnostic logs, connection monitor, tasks, and so I'll connect to, so there's connected devices there, and Boston subnet, yeah, that's good. And I'll go for, you know what, sometimes things which used to be here are not shown there anymore. So that's and this happens a lot in cloud, so I'm very much used to it. Now the route table feature used to be here in vNet as well, in the vNet, but I'm just going to click that subnet here and then go inside the subnet. Let me show you there as well. I'm just going to go inside the public subnet, and there's a route table here, but route table is not here, so this means obviously it's a separate feature within Azure. It's not inside the vNet itself, right? But route table can be connected. So first of all, you can see that there is no route table connected here, right? But if you don't connect any route table yourself, the routing by default is connected with the backbone network of the Azure between the two. Because if we don't touch this and we check our machines from public vNet to public subnet to private subnet, it's gonna simply connect. This means the routing is enabled. But where is route table? If you go to search, then there is, if you type just route here in the search, right? So there's route tables as a separate service available, which again is different from AWS. So if you go for route table, so nothing is created here. In AWS, it's more transparent. They do show one default route table for the default VPC. Then they do show a route table that is, suppose we create our own VPC in AWS, Virtual Private Cloud, which is like vNet. So they create, the route table created there is also shown clearly. So they're very transparent about what network is going on from where to where. Here, by default, its routing is enabled. That's what Azure tells us, and we can prove that if we don't create anything, we will be able to communicate with two machines. But they don't show that route table by default. So if I click the add button inside the route table and I give the resource group here, now we don't need that route table, just to go ahead and, so name, test, and propagate gateway routes. So select no to prevent the propagation of on-premises routes to the network interfaces in associated subnets. So it just says that if you're connected from on-premises through VPN or some other way, well, through VPN, then it's going to automatically discover those routes. But if I go to next text, just to confirm that, is that all I need to do route in the route table? So I'm going to click tags, nothing in the tags. I'll just review plus create, and I'm just going to go ahead and create that as well, just to explore the inside features of a route table. So what are we supposed to do from a route table? What we're supposed to do is that we can, so I'll just go for that other diagram. So here, the route table by default in the background is already configured. It's not even showing to us. But if we want to manually do our own routing, that this subnet connects to some other subnet, but not this subnet, or this subnet connects to some other subnet, but not this one. So we can just manually then attach the route tables one end to one subnet and the second end, suppose this is another subnet here. We can attach the second end there. Now this will be coming in upcoming lab as well, but since the question was here, so that's why I just created it. Route table is there, right? And instead of going to resource, I'm going to click that search here, and route tables is the first one here, right? If I go inside the route table, test route table, I just created it for, and then there's configuration here, there are routes here, and then it's asked for subnets as well, right? So suppose I go for subnets here. So it just says that, hey, you want to associate this route table to which subnet? Now I don't want to mess my own vNet, but this is the number of subnets that I can connect. Suppose it's private subnet 1 and OK. And the associate button is still there, and I can go for vNet 1 here as well, and then I can go for public vNet, and if I press OK here, so it first checks that, hey, what am I doing? Aren't they already connected to me and to each other? Why am I connecting the two subnets this way? But we can just select, and it connects. Suppose you had private subnet 3, private subnet 4, private subnet 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you want to connect 3 of them. So 1, 6, and 9, suppose. So you can just select these 3, and this particular route table, you can name it that subnet 1, 6, and 9 are connected through this route table. So the traffic will go between them only, right, through this route table. So that's how you can just add or associate subnets here. And then it just, in the routes, you can add some routes that from this network prefix or from this gateway, from this vNet, there's a traffic coming, from this virtual appliance traffic is coming, from the internet overall, the traffic is coming. So you can further configure the route table here. But mainly, it's you can connect different subnets by lining it up. I don't want to mess up right now my subnets. And I also want to prove one more thing. If you don't create this, are the machines still going to connect? If they still can connect as per the documentation, obviously the route tables are already created. So this is for your manual traffic flow that you can play with the route tables like this and connect as many subnets, whichever subnets you want as per your choice. You can connect. So I'm just going to delete that. Failed to delete. Oh, obviously I connected the subnets here. Disassociate, yes, and disassociating subnet, yep, and disassociate or dissociate. It's not disassociate, it's dissociate. And then if I go for delete, okay, gone. So route table delete done. I'll just go back to well, yeah, so we were done with the NSGs there, and we defined the two NSGs and the traffic flow and connected it to the proper subnets there, right? So then comes our virtual machine here, and the virtual machine, public VM vNet 1 and private VM vNet 1. So public VM vNet 1 and the private VM vNet 1. So there will be another machine here, and that is private VM vNet 1. Yeah. Okay. Let's create the public VM vNet 1 carefully connected to the public subnet, to the vNet 1 public subnet and public NSG, and then private VM to vNet 1 private subnet and private NSG, right? So let's create the public VM vNet 1. So for that, I'm going to go to the portal menu and go down to virtual machines. Virtual machines, right? So then we're going to click that add button here for the virtual machine. We've been doing that before as well. Let's click virtual machine. Let's be very careful about this. And we need to, okay, so here, obviously there is same resource group and public VM vNet1, public VM vNet, vNet1, right? So virtual machine here, public VM vNet1, and then region is obviously East US. We don't have to go for availability options now. And image, our favorite image there is 2016 or 2019. We can go for, let's go for 2019. Not a very big difference there. You can select 2016 as well, 2012 as well, whichever you want. We're not going for spot instances. So size is D2S version 3 or 2 vCPUs and 8 GB RAM. At least it will start, well, normally. Remember your username, your first name admin, and the password. Small ABC, capital ABC, shape123.shape123. Small ABC, capital ABC, shape123.shape123. Okay, so that's the usual thing that we've been doing before. Give a name, East US, and the image, and the size, and the username, password. But we're not actually going for common ports here, so we're going to go for none. We're going for NSG now, right? We're going for network security groups. So lots of changes coming on the network page. So this is just the basics page, nothing in the disks. But then on networking, we're going to be careful. So I'll just go down here after public inbound ports, none, and we're not bringing any licenses here. So click disks. Once we click disks, then, well, nothing in the disks. We don't need a second disk here. So click networking. And in the networking, it already detects that that's the only network you created. So, okay, that's the one that's showing. And no, this is for public. So it's already selected for me private. I'm going to change that to public. But you can clearly see that Azure Bastion is not selectable. So that's why, yeah, I was saying that it's not usable. So public subnet vNet1. And the proper subnet we connected to, yes, we need a public IP given to this machine, this particular machine, because it is in the public subnet. But also, we're selecting an NSG here. So I'm going to click Advanced, right, to select an NSG. We already created a network security group.
So,
yeah.
what, like, did we select just RDP for inbound port?
You can click None there, and then come here and click Advanced.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So, yeah, here, I'm just going to go for Advanced, and we should be seeing our two NSGs that we created in this drop down. So there is a public NSG and there's a private NSG. So obviously we're going to select public NSG. Although if we had selected the RDP back there on the first page, that would have been also okay, because two machines are using two different NSGs, right? So this NSG is just allowing RDP traffic from anywhere. If we had not created that, the default setting there in basics was also actually doing that, allowing RDP from anywhere. So we click the advanced button, and we click the public vNet, right? And then accelerated networking off and load balancing no, and then click management. In the management, boot diagnosis is okay. We discussed all these features already, so no changes on management. Nothing to change on management. Then we click advanced, And in advanced, we discussed all the features already. So I'm just going for Gen 2, although if you keep it Gen 1, it really doesn't matter. Any new features in Gen 2 have nothing particular to do in this lab. So Gen 2 still, and so on advanced page, I just made one change, and that is Gen 2, generation 2, and click tags. So in the tags, name, and then VM for public subnet vNet 1. VM for public subnet vNet 1. And click review plus create. Validation passed. So let's go ahead and simply click the create button here. Yay. You know, I'm creating that SQL 2016 lab in Azure for the George Brown College. So that's an amazing experience as well. And you know, very unique things are happening. But yeah, the per month billing is like $500 till now for 1 month, and it's got a 3-month course. So wow, for a big college it may not be much, but it's amazing. Okay, so this is what? Yeah, so the first machine is getting created. We don't need to wait for the first machine to be fully created. We're not using any shared resources that this machine may create. No. So yeah, we can just let it create and go for another machine. So I'm just gonna go ahead, right click, and go to duplicate here, and just simply after the duplicating the tab, I'm gonna click the portal menu and go down to virtual machines again, and now we're gonna go for the private VM vNet 1. So let's click add again in virtual machine. Now we're creating the second machine and attaching it to the same resource group, right? And then it's private VM vNet 1. Private VM vNet 1. And it's in East US. No availability options for the second VM, which is private VM vNet 1. And it's 2019 data center Gen 1. So same usual options, right? D2S, or V3, 2 vCPUs, 8 GB RAM. Your first name, admin. And okay, what was that? Okay. So yeah, the usual options here. I'm gonna click none for RDP here. And that's it. So just given the name and everything. So I'm going to click disks, nothing in the disks, right? Then I'm going to go for networking, and so vNet 1 is already selected, good. Private subnet is already selected, good. Now what we don't want here is we do not want a public IP. So during the virtual machine creation, we can control that. So no public IP to this virtual machine, right? That's one thing. So that lets us make sure that okay, only private IP. And then the advanced. Once we click the advanced here, we can go for our private NSG, which is only accepting traffic from public subnet. So if we drop down, we see our private vNet 1. Okay, so once we click the private vNet 1, so that's the whole setting for the networking of private vNet. Just the thing that we need to make sure is that public IP is not available. Now public IP is not available. Now obviously we're not expecting internet to be here, right? Even public IP is not available, so how can we have internet? So we should not have. Well, should not. Okay, advanced is private vNet, and then that's it. So load balancing or accelerated network, nothing here, and click management. Enable with managed store account boot diagnosis. So on management page, nothing here. Management page, nothing here. Then click next, advanced. On advanced page, it's just generation 2. Click tags. Okay, so if we select private, Chetan says if we select private vMnet 1 IP, private vMnet 1 IP would be still, so if I go back to networking here, you're talking about the public IP to be this. So it's going to give a public IP. So the name doesn't mean that it's going to be private IP. It's just a name of a machine that it got from here. So if you select that, it's going to give it a public IP. You have to specifically click no. Alright. I'll click advanced here. In the advanced, I'm just going down to generation 2 or gen 2 and tags. Name and NSG for, also that is VM4, so already previous ones are written, so I'll go for VM4 private subnet vNet 1. Name VM for private subnet vNet 1. Alright, so pretty much everything's the same, it's just the different network vNet subnet and no public IP, right? So validation passed, and click Create and 8. Yay! So once it is created, then well, it's getting created. So if you go back to the diagram here, now it is public VM vNet 1 and private VM vNet 1, which is properly attached to the public VM is attached to the public subnet and the public NSG, and private VM is attached to the private subnet and private NSG, right? Now, is it created for everyone? Because guys, we're ready. We're kind of ready. So what we need to do is that we can connect from our PC. We need to RDP into public VM vNet 1, and so that will be RDP, and then from there we're gonna connect to private VMnet as well, and that's also a second RDP, second connection. So if you're connected, if you're inside the private VMnet, then the whole thing worked fine. If you're not, then obviously one minor step out of those million steps that we took, one minor step is just wrong, right? So then just wait for the video to upload and follow up, right? Well, let me just check if the second VNet, in fact, we can still connect to the first machine. Oh, actually, second is also done. So I'm going to go to the portal menu here and go down to the virtual machines dashboard. Portal menu. Once the machine is done, go to the, so the two virtual machines are there and they show they're running. So I'm going to go to the public VMnet 1 because that's where we need to connect first, right? And from within that machine, we need to connect to the private VMnet. One thing to confirm here is, if I click the private VMnet, do you see a public IP there? Are you kidding me? No. Okay, no. No public IP. If you click the private VMnet, it only should be a private IP. No public IP should be there, right? And if you see the public VMnet, yes, there's a public IP here, this one. So private, no public IP, and the other one public IP there. Okay, or this one. Anyway, so just go ahead and connect. So how do we connect? Yes, we can connect from Bastion, we can connect from RDP, whichever you want. We have configured both ways. So public VMnet, I'm there, and I'll click the connect button here. We know how to connect from Bastion, we know how to connect from RDP now. So well, I'm just trying. Bastion is the more fun way to connect, but I'll go for RDP. And then I can connect from Bastion as well. You just have to put your username password directly by downloading RDP and then bothering with all this, right? So still, I don't know why I'm going for this RDP public while I can actually go for Bastion. So I'm just I've downloaded that RDP file there and click and connect. And then put username password here. I was actually putting username, seriously. What's wrong with me? Your first name admin and the password small abc capital C ship123 without ship123. We know this drill. Oh, safe is already there. Woohoo! Okay. Fast and curious, yeah. Vakas says, can you just quickly connect using Bastion as well, just for the sake of recording in this lecture? Yeah, sure. So this is how we connect from the RDP. I'm just going to cancel that, right? And then I'm going to click through Bastion. So I'm going to go to overview. I could have clicked the Bastion there. Then I click the connect and then go for Bastion. Once we go to Bastion, then we can click use Bastion. And in the use Bastion, that's it. That's much more simpler. Your first name admin and then small for the password and then connected. So now I'm within the browser trying to connect. So if it says see text images copy to the clipboard, allow. Okay. So it's logging in. So this is always the preferred. Microsoft says just go this way. But yeah, you know what? Next time, yeah, it's only Bastion. Well, okay, so from this machine now, why I was also saying that to connect from RDP, obviously we're trying to pretend that we're connecting from over the internet. So anyway, we're inside the Bastion. Through the Bastion, we're connected to this. If the blue bar comes, yes, it will. Then the machines will be discoverable. Okay, so Vikas says we have internet on which VM? Private VM? Okay, so guys, I'm connected to the public VM. Public VM should have internet because it's connected through public IP, but private VM should not have. So I'm just gonna connect from public VM. So if I go back to the diagram here, where I'm inside the public VM now, and from there I'm about to launch another connection to go to the private VM. For that, I need the IP of the private VM to RDP from public VM to the private VM, right? So I'm gonna go to the VM dashboard, and then I'm gonna go to the private VM to grab that IP. So I'll click overview for the private VM, and I can see 10.0.1.4. Okay, that's the private IP of the private VM. 10.0.1.4. So it's inside that subnet that is only accepting traffic from this public subnet. 10.0.1.4. Okay, so I'll try to go inside the public VM, and then I'm going to right click and go to run, and I'm going to type a command. What command? mstsc. That is Microsoft Terminal Services Console, right? So mstsc and press O and K. mstsc and press OK. So, and the private IP only now, right? So if the routing is enabled between the two, then obviously we should be connected. 10.0.1.4. So that's our IP. Okay. And yeah. I'm going to click connect. And it's asking for username password. Yay! Okay. So small ABC, capital ABC, shape 1, 2, 3. Oh, what am I doing? Seriously. Your first name admin is the username, and the password is small ABC, capital ABC, shape 1, 2, 3, dot shape 1, 2, 3. Oh, there you go. Chintan says I can access internet from private VM means you. So yeah, there's a very good technical reason for this, that why internet is there for on private VM, and that technical reason is welcome to Microsoft. No, that's not a technical reason. Actually, I need to also know why. Tell me why. Okay, no. So yeah, old school, right? And press yes. So yeah, we're inside the private VM, but if it has internet, that's Microsoft is just providing, hey, you get every service, even internet, even if you don't want it. See how good we are. Okay, anyway, so so this means that we have to actually block internet. We have to specifically put in inbound rules to deny port 80, port 443, and then you will not have internet there, right? So you have to create a deny rule there for port 80 and port 443. Then you won't have that. So we have to specifically deny, otherwise it's there. In fact, we allowed port 80 and 443 as well, right? No, last class we did not allow that, and still it was working. So you have to specifically deny that. Okay guys, so we're inside there, and if we check our diagram, so this is achieved here. We're good. This whole thing is working fine, right? So if I can remove these arrows, because I need this diagram for something else as well, I'll just copy all this. Okay, I'll put it first here, that this is diagram we followed, and also I need it for the next lab as well, that is peering, because peering exactly requires this kind of setup. So can click this guy and put it somewhere here. Oh. All right. Okay, so there MS also allow other ports by default. Yes, so like FTP. So we have to specifically deny them. So deny rule will be just the opposite of allow rule. Deny and port 8080, port 80N. Chitin says, I think in NSG rule we did any to any. If we do public to any, then might be work. Yeah, public to any will not deny traffic, right? Public to any, yes. Yeah, if you take it to any one machine, yes, you're right, because the routing is enabled for both subnets, so it would just go for, yeah, if you go for specific IP, yes, you're right. It could then stop that. Now, guys, we still have one other portion of this lab, and it just extends from here. So we get the idea from here about the vNet, the subnet, the route table, the NSG, but what about then the peering connection as well? And for that to work, in fact, the good thing is, so first of all, what about you have another vNet, right? So how can you make a connection to another vNet's subnet, especially when that's vNet 2 now, right? And it's as you said 172.16.0.0/16, right? So suppose this is a range for another vNet. Can you tell me how can we connect to the other? So there's a subnet here, right? And suppose we create a subnet here and it's a default subnet, but it's actually a private subnet. So no, this vNet does not have any public subnet or public site traffic configured. It's only one subnet, and that only is also private subnet vNet 2. So only private subnet in this vNet. How do you propose that the traffic should be? So Chetan says, configure routing between two vNets. Okay, yes, you're right. How? I mean, like, no, not how. I mean, obviously we're going to go for how, but what routing are we talking about here? So is it the route table we're talking about? So first of all, it's okay. Oh yeah, okay. So you're saying route table. So here, obviously we discussed about that route table. So obviously that comes in mind. Since we did not talk about the peering yet, peering connection, peering. So that's why it's not really very clear. So first of all, private VM vNet 2. So that's what we need to create here. I'm just creating all the components here, making all the components here that needs to be created. So for NSG private vNet 2, we're going to be creating a NSG private vNet 2, and that would be what? That would be allowing allow traffic only from 10.0.0 0/16, right? So from 0.0.0/16. So in that case, what happens is that we're just saying that this vNet's private subnets, private VM net will be accepting traffic only from this vNet's different subnets. So you can see already that it's 172 range, and we're saying that hey, we're allowing traffic from only 10 range. So we can do that, but how is it possible? So first of all, route table does not work on vNet level. Route tables work on subnet level within a vNet, right? So it will not be a route table that will actually create that traffic. So that would be a peering connection, which is obviously like it's using the backbone network of Azure to enable routing between the two vNets. So it's purely Microsoft network in the background, and they call it. So they enable routing themselves in the background for two vNets, and if the peering connection is not there, two vNets cannot talk to each other otherwise. Or if you have connected VPN, so obviously either site-to-site VPN you can go for, and also you can go for point-to-site, which is from subnet, from an on-premises data center to your vNet, private vNet. But the thing is, between vNets, route table does not work between vNet. Peering connection, which is simply the Microsoft backend routing, is enabled between the two vNets. So Milab says, will network gateway also work? Yes, network gateway will also work, can also work. But when it's two vNets between two subscriptions and two vNets between two regions, then peering works fine. So we don't need actually gateway when peering connection is there. So gateway is normally needed when you have actually, suppose it's AWS, from there some resource you're connecting, or from your local data centers you're connecting a resource, from over the internet anywhere else you're connecting from. It's non-Azure to Azure, then you need gateways there. Otherwise, normally Microsoft recommends that, hey, if it's our two same resources are in our Azure backbone network, so we're going to use our own backend routing to connect our two resources. If it's Azure to non-Azure, we use gateways for that. So peering connection, right? So if we go out there to the Azure peering connection, Azure network peering, right? So virtual network peering enables you to seamlessly connect two or more virtual networks in Azure. Okay, that's what we intend to do. What else? The virtual networks appear as one for connectivity purposes. The traffic between virtual machines in peered virtual networks uses the Microsoft backbone infrastructure, like traffic between virtual machines in the same network. Or traffic is routed through Microsoft's private network only. So if it's Microsoft's two resources or Azure's two resources, then Microsoft says just do peering. You don't have to create something else. So Azure supports the following types of peering: virtual network peering, connect virtual networks within the same Azure region; global virtual network peering, connect virtual networks across Azure regions. Even in different regions, you can connect the two. Can you please check screenshot? Oh, okay. And let me check it out in WhatsApp. Where? Okay, even the WhatsApp network is slow in my side. Oh, now it's showing. So I'll drag this here. Okay, so yeah, what's the question here? Oh, we are allowing traffic from the whole range, so we can give 10.0.0.16. But if you want a specific subnet from another vNet, yes, you can actually put 10.0.0/24 as well, or 10.0.1/24 as well, or just simply 10.0.0.16. So it's your choice. It's our choice. Then it should not be talking to 10.0.0. Should not be? No, it should be talking to anything in the range of 10.0.0/16. This means it should be actually talking to 10.0.0. These are just subnetworks of this big network, or smaller sections of this one big network. So it will talk to pretty much every subnet in this. Suppose we actually have 3,000 subnets here. So it's going to talk to pretty much every subnet if you just add the whole range. So it should be talking to all those. But we can stick it to just one subnet as well. And but if you stick it to the whole range, yes, you can connect to every subnet within this range. All right. Okay. So it should do that, unless last night they changed something there. I always try to secure my position as well, because many times its surprises are there that just recently I done that lab, and then at once I see, oh man, they've changed that. Seriously, how can I track a lot of changes that they're doing on such large scale? Okay, but yes, normally it's supposed to be. So a low latency, high bandwidth connection between resources in different virtual networks. The benefits of using virtual network peering, whether local or global, is low latency, high bandwidth connection, right? So that's one thing, low latency, so less latency is there, or faster network is there. Ability of resources in one virtual network to communicate with resources in a different virtual network. Obviously, that's the main reason. Ability to transfer data between virtual networks across subscriptions even. Suppose your subscription, you have two subscriptions there, and you want to create a peering connection between the two subscriptions, different credit cards, right? Or different tenants, and different regions. So any way you want, as long as it's Azure to Azure, yes, you can peer them together, and which means that you're just using in the background Microsoft private network. So I'm just gonna put that peering connection here. Link and peering. Oh, Azure peering connection. So Azure peering vNet and I will put it here as well. Azure peering vNet. Actually, it's vNet peering. I don't know why I'm putting it the opposite. Okay, so we understand that we're going to use the private connectivity of Microsoft provided by Microsoft once we select the peering option between the two vNets, and that's exactly what we intend to do. So if the two vNets are created and you want to communicate from the virtual machine here from private subnet of vNet 1 to private subnet of vNet 2 without peering connection, obviously you won't be able to connect. After creating the peering connection between the two vNets, then you can connect the virtual machine here to there and there to here. Same way, so Chetan says, same way peering will work for AWS to AWS. Yes, exactly. Same way. So exactly the same concept. Even in Google Cloud, same way. Oracle Cloud, same way. Okay, so let us go ahead and try to. So what we need to create is second VNet and a private subnet there and an NSG for VNet 2 and then a virtual machine for VNet 2. Once we have created all this, then we're going to create a peering connection between VNet 1 and VNet 2, and our IP range is totally different, right? So let us go ahead. Let us and carrots and the whole salad. Oh, not that lettuce. So let us. Oh, I was. Now, how do we do that? We go back to our dashboard here, and in the dashboard we can click the portal menu, and then we go down to virtual networks. Let's click the virtual networks. And once we click the virtual networks, so we already see VNet 1. Let's create VNet 2 now, and totally different IP range. So let's go to add, right? Okay, so here we're going to go for the same resource group, right? And then we will go for name here, and that would be simply vNet 2, right? Keep it simple. So vNet 2, and obviously it's the East US. Can you select different region? Yeah, we can select. Chintan says, can you select different region? In fact, let's go for that. So I'm kind of like saying like this. Okay, okay, sure. So, so yeah, okay. So, like, yeah. So, okay. So I'm just gonna go for in the previous course or somewhere else, I said that hey, it works with different regions. So I still went for same region just to get the whole concept of peering cleared, but two students went with separate region while I was going for the same region, and they were successfully connected, right? So let's go for that. Normally I do a lab when I have done it once myself, but it should work, and I'm taking the word of those students and taking the word of Microsoft as well. Fingers crossed. Yeah. Okay, so guys, let's go for some other region. Suppose I'm just going to go for the second one as East US 2. Normally it does work, so I'm going to go for US East 2 for the second VNet here, right? Okay, so East US 2, and the other one is on East US. So let's click IP addresses. And there the IP range is this, but we're actually going to change this now. We're going to change it to 172.16.0.0/16, right? So once you do that, so they will say, hey, you've changed the range, so I'm removing the default subnet from there and go create your own subnet. That's what they're saying to us. So, okay. And let's just add our subnet as well. So since we added our own IP range, let's click the add subnet as well. Okay, so then I'm gonna go for subnet name here, and the subnet name is so it's a private subnet vNet2, right? And then obviously we need to give our subnet range. So 10, oops, not 10, 172.16.0.0/24, right? So it's going to be 172.16.0.0/24. And that's it. So I'm just going to click the add button. So private subnet vnet to 132.16.0.0/24, and it's a separate region as well. Microsoft, you better be telling the truth. So no, it is telling the truth. Don't worry. Yeah. So let's click net security, and well, yeah, it's up to us. We want to create a bastion host or not. It's up to you. You know, Microsoft really recommends that now. Is pushing Bastion pretty much everywhere. So let's keep it as a general common practice to create a Bastion host when we create a vNet, right? You don't create it, it works fine with RDP. You create it, it's better. You log in from the browser directly, even from outside, anywhere where you have to connect from some public machine. So through Bastion, then you can connect. In public machines, all restrictions are there. If you download the RDP, maybe it will not even allow you to download RDP. Then you're stuck. How to connect to my machines? So Bastion is configured already. Then you can do that from any machine, literally from any tablet, anywhere. Okay. So Vikas says, can you go back to previous page for a sec? Okay. Previous page. SAC is over. I'm going back. No, just kidding. Okay. Yeah. And Azaldin says, do we keep the default subnet? No, Azaldin, if you have used the 10 range, then the default subnet should be there. If you have used the 172.16, then default subnet will not be there. You have to create your own subnet. Oh, if you see 172.16 and still you see the default subnet, then you don't actually need to create a new one, right? So then, because I didn't have a default subnet as I changed my range, so I didn't see the default subnet. I had to create a new one. If you have the default subnet, even after changing the range, then just change the name to private subnet vnet. Okay, I'm going to go for security here. And in the security, I'm clicking the enable button. So Chintan says, if we select default subnet, then it will not connect vnet 2. No, if the default subnet is still there, and this means that you kept the 10 range, so just give it another subnet like 10.0. So in vnet 1 we use what, 10.0.0.0/24, 10.0.10/24, 10.0.20/24. Here, try to give, if you want to stick to 10 range, try to give 10.0.3, which we haven't used there yet, 10.0.30/24. Then go for that. Don't overlap. Don't put the same subnet here for 10 range that you already have there as well, right? So, okay.
So here my question is that, like, if you put it 10.0.3.0 something, it will not connect to 172.16 because that vNet.
Yeah, but
vNet 2 is a 172, right?
Exactly, you're right about that. I am guessing that Azaldin means that he's saying about default because he's sticking to 10 range. So in that case, definitely he has to have 10 here. If he's sticking to 172, then you have to create a new subnet because it will remove the default subnet for me. It didn't show me the default subnet as soon as I changed the range, so I had to create a new one. And you're right, it has to be within that range. So, okay guys, let's go ahead and let's click security. In the security, I'm going for a Bastion host enable, as Microsoft is taking it as a best practice. So bastion name is exactly, just grab it from here, Azure Bastion Subnet, and no ups and downs or no changes on this. It has to be this. If it's a different spelling than this, Bastion will not work. That's what Microsoft says. It has to be exactly this. Only then this type of subnet will work. Yeah, it needs IP range here as well. So okay, 172.16. Its third octet would be 1.0. So 1.0/24. So for Bastion subnet 172.16.1.0/24. Just to create Bastion subnet. If you don't want to create, just click disable, and it's still, you can connect from RDP. And yes, Bastion subnet for its own working needs a public IP. So I'm just gonna click create new and give it vNet 2 Bastion paper. So vNet 2 Bastion paper, or whatever you want to give. Okay, Vikas says this Bastion subnet is under our vNet 2, correct? Yes. And we can only have one Bastion in one vNet, yes. So that's why we're creating that. Because it's a separate vNet, that's why we're going for a Bastion for this one as well. Suppose we create 3,000 subnets in this, one Bastion subnet is enough per vNet. So whatever name you give here to the public IP, I'm just gonna press O and K. So Save says, don't forget to select the subnet from the previous page. Thank you for that. I'm going to previous, and I did not select it. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for noticing that. Otherwise, we would have, after creating the vNet, we would have had to create the subnet again. Okay, guys. So click previous, and if you haven't selected that, go ahead and select that. Okay. Thanks for noticing that. And click security, and in the security, yeah, we're good. So Bastion host enable, and Azure Bastion subnet this, and then public IP is this. So we don't need the DDoS and firewall for now. And click tags, and yeah, the name here, and whatever we put for the first vNet, or that's a vNet lab. So okay, vNet lab, vNet peering lab now. So that was the vNet lab. Now it's vNet peering lab. I'll just add this one, or anything you want to add. All right. So name, and then vNet peering lab, and then click review plus create. Yay! And validation failed. Yay! What? Okay, I'll go previous. Previous. Did I do something wrong? Hey, why it did not show me 132.16.0.0/24? Yeah. Okay, 132.16.0.0/16. Oh yeah. So well, I should have seen it there. What's the reason? Because it did not show there. Okay, well, click here to view details. Give me details. The resource Azure Bastion subnet already exists in location East US in resource group. Resource group. A resource with the same name cannot be created in location East US2. Please select a new resource name. Invalid course. Okay. A resource with the same name cannot be created in location East US2. Really? With this resource group. I can't change that actually, the resource name there. So you have different region but using same RG for second region. Yes, that's what I'm thinking, that this is the only link here, the same RG. So okay, we can create a different RG and check it out. Should we not create new RG for the second region? Yes, you're right, because
No, it's work for us, but I think you need to change
Azure
Azure Bastion name.
Yeah, it clearly says actually that already exists in location East US in the resource group. This, it's also referring to resource group. Microsoft's,
Yeah, if you go back in the previous again back, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, here the Bastion name. Just change the Bastion name.
Just put one. I think I just put one and it worked. Validation passed.
Yeah, bastion name just only
Yeah.
in the
No, the
bastion name.
problem was that Microsoft specifically said in the documentation it has to be exactly the same name, right? But now let's put it to test if that's correct. So yes, let's do that. Although documentation says it has to be exactly the same name, otherwise it's not going to work, right? If it doesn't work, then we have to RDP, which is also okay, or we can change it later as well, hopefully. But let's put it to test now, because Bastion has to be exactly the same name. Otherwise, anyone else can also go for different RG, because if you can go, then we can check both things. This changing the name, will it still let us connect from Bastion? And if you're going for RG, or anyone else who wants to go for it.
Like that worked on my side, on my end, with just putting the one
Okay, so
at
yeah,
the
the
one. Yep.
validation succeeded. That's what you mean, right? Okay.
Yep, and it's creating now.
So let's go for tags, and yeah, this is what I wanted to avoid actually. But yes, I'm just going against the documentation now. It should not have let me pass that as well if the rule was strict about the bastion. But let's do the bastion and check it out. If it lets us still use the bastion and log in, yes, then it will be confirmed that, oh, we can actually have a different name and it's gonna work. Really? Okay. So validation 6 passed for the whole configuration. Maybe it's not checking that rule of bastion name itself. So I'm just gonna, oh, actually it did. That's why it said, hey, you already have that name. Maybe that rule is still not checked, that it has to be exactly this name, or should not be a different name. Okay, so I'm gonna click create here. Okay, Chintan says it's working for me. So Chintan, did you try to actually log in from vNet 2 from another machine in Bastion to use same name? Oh, what? You're using exactly the same name and it's working for you? What? Okay, welcome to Microsoft. Oh, are you able to, Chintan, create successfully the vNet from, just use Azure Bastion Subnet 1? Oh, okay. No, that's what I use as well. I think you also use Azure Bastion Subnet 1, right? That's what you're saying. Okay. So guys, yeah, the documentation says that no, don't change that name, but that's what I wanted to avoid and try to go for resource group. But let's just check it out. It's a good thing we can practically test it instead of going for. Okay, so the vNet is getting created. If we go to our diagram here now, so yeah, the vNet and the subnet, right? So now we need to go for NSG, but we have to make sure that it is East US 2. You know, I should have gone for West US. But anyway, it's too late. So yeah, here NSG private. We need to create that NSG now and allow it to have traffic only from this range. We can even give a subnet as well. Oh, I want traffic only from this specific subnet. In fact, it will be more interesting to actually just add traffic from this subnet. How about that, right? So let's create an NSG as well while the vNet is getting created. Last time it took forever to create. So I'm going to go for the other tab. Let this tab work on creating vNet. And I'll go to the other tab which is already there. Or you can right click here and duplicate tab, right? So go ahead and duplicate tab, or just go to the other tab. And what do we need to do here? So let's just click the NSG. Remember that we need to create an NSG for our vNet 2. NSG will ask, right? Which vNet? So I'm going to go to NSG. I think we need to wait for the vNet to get created, but I'm just going to still go to the NSG in the second tab. Can we have a small break after this topic? Oh, okay. Oh yeah, small break too. Network security group. Okay, sure. I'm going to check my NSG here. I'm on the NSG and I just want to quickly check if we need to give it a vNet. No, we don't need to. Just the region change and tags and review. Okay, so what we can do is we can just create a new NSG. So I'm in search, then network groups, network security groups, or NSG, and then click add, right? Once you click add, Well, just to get rid of those at the end of the class with one resource group, I'm just clicking that one resource group here for the NSG, and the NSG name as per other NSGs. So NSG private vNet 2. Okay, NSG private, NSG private vNet 2, vNet 2, and it's East West. Did I say West? So it is East US 2 as well. So NSG private vNet 2 and East US 2. So once that is created, okay, let's go to tags here and name it something, whatever, NSG private subnet, yeah, okay, NSG for private subnet and VM vNet 2. I'll just add that as the name, NSG for private subnet and VM vNet 2, and click review plus create. Make sure it is East US 2, this NSG. That's the only thing, and the rest is the same, and the proper naming here. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and click create for this NSG. And in this NSG, okay, NSG is created. We just need to configure it, and then we'll take a small break and then create the virtual machine and peering connection. So let's go inside this third NSG now. If I go to my port search here and go to the network security group in the recent services in the search, I'll go to the dashboard of network security group here, and NSG private vNet 2 is this. So let's configure this NSG private and vNet 2, and then I'll go for inbound rules as we discussed in the diagram as well. So what inbound rule we need to create? So I'm going to click, let's be careful here, so I'm going to click add to the private vNet 2 NSG, and we are also not accepting traffic from the second vNet and subnet, private subnet. We're not accepting from anywhere, we're accepting from a specific IP range only. So IP address, and either you can give the full range, or even better, we can go for 10.0.10/24, one specific private subnet in the other vNet. We only need to accept traffic from here. But experience, guys, experience, you add only this, yes, it connects from there, but it also still connects from here as well. So this means that specific rules have to be denied from this range to make it not connect. Otherwise, just adding this still connects from here as well, which is strange. So unless the deny rules are specifically for that particular subnet, it will still connect, or it was connecting, but we will give it a try. So 10.0.0, oh, it's 1.0/24. Isn't that the range for, oh, okay, malformed IP address, oh, sorry, 10.0.1.0/24. If I go back to the diagram, is that the correct range? So 10.0.1.0/24, yes. So it's only accepting 172.16.0.0 is only accepting traffic from 10.0.1.0/24. Okay, yes, that's exactly what I wrote. And then what are we accepting from there? Yeah, the usual 3389. Any or TCP is okay. Allow, yes, we're allowing, we're not denying it. Priority 100. Name is RD and P. Okay, so in this particular, we just added the private subnet range of the other vNet. If we have done, let's click add. So while this is getting created, we need to connect this particular vNet 2 NSG to the only subnet that we have inside vNet 2, right? So I'm going to click subnet here, and we know what to do, associate or dissociate. So associate, it should see only vNet 2 here. In the region, it only will see its own, only one vNet. And there you have Azure Bastion subnet. Hey, wasn't that a different name here? Anyway, private subnet vNet 2, select and press OK. So we have created the NSG, private vNet 2, and then we create the inbound rule accepting traffic from the private subnet of vNet 1, and we attached it to the only subnet in vNet 2. So that's what we have done till now. And then so the rest we will continue. So NSG got created, so vNet got created, private subnet got created, NSG got created. The next is private VM vNet 2, attach it to the private subnet, the vNet 2 and NSG, and then we're gonna test it finally with the peering connection, right? So let's do it after the break. Okay, so class starts at 9:03, and this means run. Okay, so short break 2. All right, so what we have done till now is created the vNet 2 with this IP range and created a private subnet vNet 2, and then we went for NSG private vNet 2, the network security group, allow traffic only from 10.16. So now we need to create our virtual machine to connect to the vNet 2, the private subnet, and the NSG. So let's go ahead and carefully create our virtual machine for that purpose. And in order to create a machine, let's go ahead and I'll just go to, so here vNet 2 is created, yes. So from any dashboard or from any tab, you can just go for portal menu here and go down to the virtual machines. So here private vmnet 1, so that's vmnet and public vmnet 1, so we're going to create private vmnet 2. So let's click the add button here and go for virtual machine. And once we click the virtual machine here, so then we can actually connect to our resource group, same resource group here that we've been using for everything else. And it's yeah, it's purple. Any particular reason it's purple, so okay, it's okay now, and still purple. Anyway, so virtual machine name here, and let's put it that okay, what was the name? So it's virtual machines here. Yeah, so private vmnet 2. So private vnet 2, and this is in East US 2. Yay! Okay, it's in East US 2. Make sure that we place it like that. Oh, so Safe has confirmed that Boston is working. Okay, Microsoft, thank you for that documentation that the name has to be exact, otherwise it's not going to work. So that works. Thank you for confirming. So we simply changed the name of or just added one thing and it still works. So yeah, should not take everything literally, we should check it. Thank you for confirming that. And okay, so East US 2 here, and then availability options, and image, let's go for 2019 Gen 1, and it says here D2S V3 2 vCPUs are not available, so I'll change it to DS1, then I'll change it back to D2S. Now it's okay. And username, your first name, admin, small letter C, capital C, shape 123 without shape 123, and then your first small letter C, capital C, shape 123 without shape 123. All right. And well, this usual information, I'll click none here for the public inbound ports. Nothing in licensing, so I'm going to click disks page. Nothing in the disks page. I'm going to click networking page. So here it already detects vNet 2, which is good. It already detects the only subnet that vNet 2 has. Good. What we don't need here is public IP. We don't need public IP, and we're going to click none here. So no public IP for this one as well. And obviously we need to attach the NSG that we created that accepts traffic from the private subnet of vNet 1. So I'm going to click that advanced here, and yep, there's our NSG that we created. Select that. And so on this page, yeah, what we did before, the same drill, right? So NSG private vNet 2, and let's go down to nothing in load balancing, nothing in accelerated networking. Let's go click management. So nothing on the management page. Let's click advanced. Nothing in OL. Okay, Gen 2. Other than that, nothing on the advanced page. And then click name. In the name, this is virtual machine. So yeah, for private subnet, but vNet 2. That's the only change here. VM for private subnet, vNet 2. And then click review plus create. Yay! Yeah, no public IP. No public IP. So click none there on the public IP. And review plus create. Welcome. And validation pass. We'll select for subnet. Milab says, you have choices there. I think we have just one subnet there, and that is this. So Milab says this. Private subnet vNet 2. Make sure it is vNet 2, right? And yes, the only subnet there is this. And public IP, none. And then network security group is advanced, and just the only network security group there that we have. And nothing in management other than Gen 2, nothing in advanced, nothing in tags, or select something and put something there. Review plus create, and create. So I'll click the create button now. So create. Okay, so it's the virtual machine is getting created, and if we go back to our diagram, so finally we have created this one as well. Now since it does not have a public IP, so I was gonna ask that let's connect to this machine, vNet 2 private machine, right? Since we don't have public IP, then I was gonna say, hey, how can we connect? We don't have a public IP, but hey, we have a bastion, right? So we can still connect. So I'm gonna go for that bastion option when the machine gets fully created. Right now it's getting created. So in Scarborough, my favorite samosa shop there, the Taj Mahal Sweets. So this long weekend, Friday, I went there to grab some samosas, and it was 10-minute drive, and then they said the shop is closed. Okay, that was after some time. I went for my favorite samosa, then shop was closed. So I was so heartbroken. I stopped eating for 3-4 days now. I'm just kidding. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, it's not 8. Yeah, it's created. Okay, we're good. So let us, Buster is working for me as well. There you go. So yes, that rule of that the name has to be exactly same actually is not correct, or we cannot take it literally. Maybe they mean that name is there, that particular name should be there, and whatever you want to add. Okay, so I'll take it that way now. Okay, I'm just gonna go to portal menu because the virtual machine is created for me, and somehow it was created fast. So I'm gonna go down to the virtual machines, and I need to connect from Bastion. So where's that private VM net 2? There it is. I'm gonna go to the private VM net 2 now, and go to overview, and then connect, and then Bastion, and then use Bastion, and then username, your first name admin, and the password. Alright, so we're good. So this is just the private IP based virtual machine, and we're okay, it's connecting fine. So we're connected inside, but we're not supposed to connect from here. We're supposed to connect from the other private machine. So I'm just gonna, well, it's logging in, okay. I need to disconnect from here because I don't need to connect from, like this. We need to prove the peering connection, but yes, that's a good thing that we confirm that the Boston works. So I'm gonna just simply close this connection. Machine is running already, it's okay. And okay guys, so what we need to, and yes, the use Boston, and the Boston name is actually this. You know, next time when I create, I'll just not put the T there of subnet, right? Let's see if it accepts that. Less than this name. More than this name, it is accepting. Anyway, alright guys, so what is our next task? Now, we haven't created the peering connection, so why don't we just try to at least go for, we're already inside the second machine, right, with RDP. How about we try to make a RDP connection from here now without the peering connection between the two vNets. Obviously, we should get a error. Well, let's check it out. So what's the private IP of this machine in vNet 2? And then we're going to go for mstsc command there in vNet 1 private VM, and open the RDP connection and just put the private IP of the vNet 2 VM. So I'm going to go back here and minimize that. Obviously, it's not going to work. Okay, Chintan says it's 1604 exactly. Thank you. So I just wanted that. So I am connected into my, yes, I'm already inside 10.0.1.4. So then it is 172.16.0.4 across the vNet now without peering connection. So I'm inside that private machine already, right? So just to make it more clearer, so I just changed it's the small box, and this is the other machine that inside which this other private machine is. So I'm just going to go down here and right click in this machine, go to run, and type mstsc, right, and press O and K. And then I'll go for 172.16.0.4 and connect, and there you go. Obviously the error should come. If it connects now, then I'll sue Microsoft that without peering, how come it is connecting? Obviously it's not going to connect. There you go. So private VM, so it's not working exactly. Private VM and public VM. So from both private VM, public VM, you've tested. If it connects, I will switch my filter. Safe says, okay, yeah. Or switch the vendor, right? Just go to AWS. I mean, everything they say, it works exactly like that. So no, but Azure, there are so many more jobs in North America for Azure than actually for AWS. Although there are bigger companies are for AWS. They still have that. Okay, guys. So here 172.16.0.4. So we're gonna keep it like that because now we're gonna create the peering connection, and then we're gonna come back and simply click the connect button after that. So we know that without peering connection, obviously it's not gonna work. So Microsoft is Azure benefit, otherwise AWS is better. Yes, you're right, Chintan. AWS is, it offers this cloud maturity. That's what I would say. It's matured. Microsoft is, you can see from the limits already, unthinkable numbers there. 3,000 subnets. You can go ahead while it can't handle the current huge traffic because of outages happening there. So okay, let's go ahead and so we have tried and it's not working. So how do we create the the peering connection? So if we go back to the diagram, there's that peer connection that need to be configured now. Let's do this. So where do we go? So we go inside the vNet. So I'm going to go to the tab here, either virtual machine tab or whichever. So I can go to portal menu and go to my virtual networks. So go to the virtual networks, and either you can initiate the peering from vNet 1 to vNet 2 or from vNet 2 to vNet 1. It's the same thing. You can initiate from anywhere, but from any one place you need to initiate. You don't have to start the visit from vNet 1 and then have come back there and start visit from vNet 2 as well. So from vNet 1, it's going to configure for vNet 2 as well when it's there, or from vNet 2, it will configure for vNet 1 as well. Okay, so I'm going to go for vNet 1 for no particular reason. And there is peerings, right? So there's peerings. I'm going to click that peerings either in vNet 1 or vNet 2, whichever you want. And I'm in vNet 1 and peerings, and then there's an add button here. Yay! Okay, let's click the add button. Okay, now it says that name of the peering from vNet 1 to remote virtual network. So we know that it's from vNet 1 to vNet 2. So peering connection from vNet 1 to vNet 2. Oh man, okay, it's no spaces as well. Underscore. Okay. So no caps. Okay, no spaces. I'll just go for no spaces for now. From vNet 1, you can put hyphens as well. Oh, we're good. So yeah, uppercase, lowercase is okay. It's just this. No spaces. Okay, so that's the first thing. So which way the connection is going? It's going vNet 1 to vNet 2. But later it's going to ask the name for this same connection on the other side. So we can copy from here and paste there. And we're going to change it from vNet 2 to vNet 1. Well, when it comes, I'll show you. But then it's asking for peer details, virtual network deployment model. It's always going to be resource manager. We're not in classic. So whichever companies are still in the older Azure and haven't upgraded yet, haven't paid Microsoft to go to the newer interface like what we are seeing here. So then they are classic. So we don't need to go for classic. Resource manager is okay. I know my resource ID as well, and that is you can select from the list of virtual networks or enter the resource ID directly. So guys, if you have like 20, 30, you can create 1000 vNets, right? Suppose you have like 200 vNets, it's a big setup. So then you can also just take the vNets resource ID as well. If you know that, then you can select that. We just have 2 vNets and it's going to be easily selectable. Then subscription, trial version, and then virtual network. So which other virtual network are you connecting to? So when you drop down, you see your vNet 2, right? You see your vNet 2. Okay, that's the vNet 2, but then it asks that, hey, what is the name you want to give from that vNet 2's side? So I'm going to copy from top here, right click and copy from there. and then right click and paste here. So I'm just going to change it to from vNet 2 to vNet 1. This is the name it's going to give there in vNet 2. The peering connection there, it's going to give that name there, right? It's creating the peanut. Did I say peanut? Oh yeah, it's creating the vNet peering in vNet 2 for us from within vNet 1, right? Okay, so if we go down here, now it says configure virtual network access settings. Allow virtual network access from vNet 1 to vNet 2. So do you want to make it one way or do you want to keep it two way? So vNet 1 to 2 and 2 to 1, right? So both are enabled. You can disable it as well. No, I just want from vNet 1 to 2 communication, but not from 2 to 1. So you can disable that if you want. But you can see that you can control that traffic. And then it says configure forward traffic settings. So allow forwarded traffic to from vNet 2 to vNet 1. So what happens here is, what is forwarded traffic? So forwarded traffic is that if you are connected from this two vNets, so it says that this vNet says that, hey, I am allowing traffic, any traffic that is originating from within the vNet, but if the traffic is coming from, suppose, outside, suppose there's a VPN connection, so suppose there's a local data center there, Toronto branch VPN center, from there a VPN connection is made to a VPN gateway here. Suppose there's a VPN gateway in the vNet 1. Now if the traffic is coming from the VPN center to the VPN gateway here, gateway, right? So if the connection is coming from to the VPN gateway here, and then it is entering the vNet 1, so that traffic has actually originated from outside and then it entered the vNet 1. So forwarded traffic just means that vNet 2 can say, hey, I am allowing any traffic that originated from within the vNet 1, but if any traffic originated from outside of vNet 1 and then entered vNet 1, and from there it is trying to connect to me through peering connection. So forwarded traffic, if you allow, then it will allow any traffic that did not originate from within vNet 1, it originated from outside of vNet 1, entered vNet 1, and then it's trying to enter vNet 2. So forwarded traffic, you want to allow this, you can allow. If you say, no, I don't want to allow forwarded traffic from vNet 1, that means that any traffic originated from vNet 1 will be allowed to vNet 2, but any traffic originated from outside of vNet 1, entering vNet 1, and from there, it wants to enter vNet 2, so I'm not allowing that. So it, through the packets, obviously it will know that what traffic originated from within vNet 1 and what traffic originated from outside of vNet 1. So this is something that you can control as well. It offers those controls, but otherwise, if you want forwarded traffic to be allowed as well, it's okay. Otherwise, you can actually block that. It could be a security concern as well in some cases for forwarded traffic, right? So that would be the forwarded traffic option. Oh, I cannot. Sorry. Okay, it's this we were talking about up there. Okay, let's go back. So forwarded traffic is that. Then okay, Chintan says means if we enable the option, then anyone can access vNet. Yes, either originating from outside of vNet 1 or from within, anyone can connect to vNet 2. So if we enable that, otherwise disabled is okay. And gateway transit settings. Okay. So gateway transit setting. Gateway transit enables one virtual network to use VPN gateway. So what it means here, gateway transit settings, is, if I go back to the diagram, gateway transit means that if you have one of the VNets have a VPN gateway configured. Suppose VPN gateway or any kind of gateway, VPN gateway or just any other kind of gateway. So it just says that gateway transit just means that I'm going to allow two vNets. The peering connection will allow two vNets to communicate through peering connection if any one of them have also VPN gateway or any other gateway connected to it. Suppose there's a vNet 2 also has a VPN gateway. In that case, you cannot have a peering connection if you go to select that option of gateway transit. So normally it just says that any one of the vNet should have gateway, and yes, you can use a peering connection. If both have VPN gateways or any gateways, then peering connection will not allow the traffic to go through one. So any one vNet is allowed to have gateway, and the other vNet must not have a gateway if the gateway transit option has needs to be allowed, right? So any one vNet is allowed to have a gateway. Other vNet should not have a gateway. Then go ahead and select peering connection. Otherwise, peering connection will not be connected if that option is selected, right? So anyone can have a gateway. That's the main thing to understand here.
So if we select allow gateway transit, what does that mean if we select the checkbox or like if we check the box?
So allow gateway transit enables one virtual network to use the VPN gateway in the peered virtual network for cross premises or vNet to vNet connectivity. So if you click that option, this means that one vNet is allowed and the second vNet is not allowed. If you uncheck this option, yes, both vNets can have gateways then, right? So if you click that, then you will tell the other vNet, hey, stop, that's it. It won't work if neither has no Seth. So if you don't click it, then either both don't have gateways or both have gateways. It's okay. But if you select that, then it will say, okay, now I'm here. So one of you can have only a gateway, other one cannot have. This is what I'm going to implement from now on. If you select that, if you unselect that, both don't have to have a gateway and both can have a gateway, and it's gonna work. Yeah, then if we click now, yes, it's not gonna work because actually we don't have a gateway at all. You're right. So alright guys, we understand that we gave the name of the peering connection from vNet 1 to vNet 2. We selected the other vNet, and then we gave the name from vNet 2 to vNet 1 as well. Then we talked about yes, we want two-way traffic, and yes, forwarded is disabled.
I just got a question. Yeah, I just got a question about this configure gateway transit settings. Like, what is the reason they have put this option here?
For implementing some security best practices that the traffic should not be coming from non-vNet sources from both areas. So here also it's connected from maybe 20 branches, and traffic is coming from many branches because of many gateways can be implemented there. And then here also you have so many branches connected with VPN connection. So many VPN connections are, so many VPN gateway are connected here. So traffic is coming from anywhere to anywhere. So you want to implement some proper, just one. I'm allowing one VNet to have gateway-based traffic, but other VNet cannot have this. You're implementing more stricter security and compliance policies there. So the other one is purely on cloud.
But if we disabled the traffic already, like in before we got two options like allow forwarded traffic, is it the same thing? If we have disabled, so we cannot get the traffic.
That is that no traffic at all comes. So suppose you disable that, so traffic comes from here, yes, but traffic does not come from here at all. So this is different. While that is just saying the gateway transit that you're allowed to have a gateway, sir, but no gateway here, right? But yes, the traffic is still going from both ways. It's not stopping any traffic from anywhere. Suppose you have another third VNet here. So that VNet 2 will allow traffic from VNet 3, VNet 4, VNet 5, VNet 10, but it's not allowed to have a gateway, which means that connecting from any on-premises network. That's the only thing we are saying, that allow any one VNet to have a gateway, another no way. But both ways traffic is going still. So
No, I'm asking about the configure forwarded traffic settings. if we have disabled it, it means that we don't get the traffic from from the gateways, right?
Yes. So this means that from gateway the traffic. So yes, you have to do that combination. You have to go for that combination. That if you select something from here, then you don't select from here. If you select something from there, then select from here. So you have to balance that information. It also doesn't allow any outside of the vNet traffic. So these need to be disabled for this to work. If we have a gateway.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Okay, guys. So once we have created all that and we discussed also, then all we need to do is press O and K, and and then once it is created. So first we're gonna check the So I'm just gonna press OK, and it's going both ways, right? So it's going to vNet 2 and configuring that. It's going to vNet 1 and configuring there for us on our behalf as well. And it shows to me that it's successful, and all we need to do is just make that connection again where we failed from the private VM. So the peering here in vNet 1 seems to be okay. I'm going to visit the vNet 2 peering area, and there also it's actually connected. So peering connection is done. Let's go to our machine where we were not able to connect from 10 range vNet to 172 range vNet, and that MST SEO remote desktop connection is still there. I'm gonna still only click connect. This time it is asking for username password. Yay! Your first name admin and small issue 1 2 3 and press O and K. Does it connect? And it is asking for a self-sign certificate, another good indication. And we're inside. Woo! Now we can see 3 machines: outside public machine, then the private machine number 1, and then inside that private machine number 2. So it's just like you see 3 moons there. So first machine, second machine, third machine here. So we're on planet Mars, and I think it has 3 moons here, right? Or 3 suns maybe. Okay, so we're in, and peering works. Woohoo! Yay! Or yay! So that is great, and fantastic, exactly. So that's peering, and so we went for the vNet features, and then we went for peering features as well. And so these 2 labs. Now in AWS, it's a bit longer procedure to do peering. Obviously, you have to enable route table, extra route table there. You have to enable gateway there. Peering here, Microsoft has made very easy. But in AWS, you have to activate the peering as well. In AWS, it's not automatic, and you have to go to the other VPC and activate it from there as well. So it's longer procedure to do that. Here it's a bit smoother and easier. A lot of errors here. Okay, so Vikas says, can we disable internet if we're not going to start new topic for today, please? Disable internet, then we'll all be disconnected. If I say, hey everyone, please disable your internet now. Oh, okay. And Chinda says, if I have to if I have to restrict public VM machine on vNet 1. If I have to restrict public VM machine on vNet 1, restrict from what? Oh, okay. Restrict from vNet 2. So yeah, we can play with the rules. So see this, Vikas also, yes, we can do that internet restriction, and also this internet of private VM internet. Okay, so yeah, well, the first question needs to be answered, and the second question, right? So first question, Vikas said that we restrict internet. So guys, do you have internet in your private VM right now? I'm in my private VM here, and I am opening this IE, and if you see Trump, obviously you got internet connection. So I'll press OK here and go to this.
I want to connect from my like 10.0.1.4 like public private IP vNet 1
No, so what's the question?
to I'm trying to connect from private IP private VM vNet 1 to private VM vNet 2, and it says your remote desktop services session has ended.
Ended.
Another user connected to the remote computer.
And what
Okay.
of the
Yeah, it says another user connected to the remote computer. I think, yeah. All right, I got it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so this is how it's resolved. Yeah, I'll just add that now. Okay, it was just a matter of time. This means. Okay, so the first question is, guys, can we actually disallow internet to this machine? And the second question is, can we disallow connection of virtual machine vNet 2 to the virtual machine of public subnet? So the first question is, how can we remove the internet of the private VM? So both questions actually talk about the NSG rules, right? NSG allows or blocks anything, right? So it's all about how you go for NSG and configure that. Configure it from inbound rule. Yeah, there you go. So if I go to the NSG here, NSG. So yeah, both questions talk about NSGs, and you can play and be creative with NSGs there. Now NSG of vNet 2 here, NSG of vNet 2. So that's I'm talking about the internet first of all. So there's a inbound security rule that is yeah, we can allow ICMP for pinging as well. Exactly. So if we go for inbound rules in NSG here, so is there a deny rule we can introduce? So if I click the add button here, and so from any inbound traffic that is going, in fact that's outbound traffic, right? So but anyway, how about we just go for port 80 here, and any traffic, and we click deny here, right? So any from any, wherever it's coming from, wherever and whichever destination is going, which is our machine, so we can go for the deny HTTP, right? In fact, it will be port 80 and comma 443 as well. So if you go for deny and then deny HTTP HTTPS, we can try that and click add. So this is an inbound rule for the vNet 2 private VM, right? So that's normally when we are inside and we are accepting, we're requesting internet, so we're initiating a traffic there. So now I have implemented that, but we can also make it more strict. We can go for outbound and simply create that deny rule there as well, right? We can create in outbound as well. So if I go down first of all here and refresh, well, whenever it implements, or I'll click close.
Yeah, maybe this is HTTPS and you only configure HTTP 80. So if you need the page that you have refreshed is HTTPS.
So I added both ports 80 and 443. So both ports are added here, and yeah, deny rule is there. And deny rule, I can actually go put it up, right? So it should be the first rule should be deny. So I can first I can just go for 100 and make it 120. So it will be the second rule. Priority would be what I'm telling it right now. The RDP rule, hey, your priority is secondary, and the 110 rule is the first priority. So first tackle this and then go for RDP and allow that. So deny, I'm just putting up there by changing the priority right now. So yeah, deny is on the top, and refresh. And otherwise I'll just go for the ultimate thing, and that is I'll simply go for outbound traffic to be denied as well for port 80 and 443, right? So this is the third machine here, right? In the third machine, I'm going for the IE here. This is the third machine. It's kind of, oh, now this is the second machine, and I need to go really up. Maybe I was checking it in the, this is the third machine, 172.16, right? And here I'll make the internet, oh, first of all, seriously, that's too much scrolling. But just to keep it clear that I'm in the third machine. Oh, serious, too much scrolling again. Yeah, it's still going there. So there's one deny rule. I'm just gonna go aggressive and try to go for when blocked on the outbound. Oh, there you go, SAF. Same ACL and Cisco. Yep, so it's outbound rule. That's what I was also thinking. I'm gonna go for add, and SAF has already confirmed that, but I'll just go for 80 comma 443, two ports, HTTP and HTTPS both, deny, and I'll just name it deny HTTP dash HTTP as the, so this is outbound rule. And well, now I'm still in yeah, this machine 172. I'll refresh, and outbound rule just got implemented with the deny, so it should, yeah, it's now, it's taking forever to refresh. So it's outbound rule. Well, still didn't load yet. Oh yeah, now it cannot read. So yeah, the traffic is blocked with outbound rule. Okay guys, other than that, there was another question. Chintan was saying, can we restrict access? So that would be RDP access, Chintan, because we,
Yeah, so RDP access to the public VM1, like vNet 1 to vNet 2. We already allow only
so that would
private.
also be a outbound rule, because we're initiating from within the public.
You can see priority 120. Yeah, go to the vNet 2, NSG vNet 2.
vNet 2.
Go to 120. What is the priority?
Okay. Yeah, this is priority here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we allow only that, right? So how come we can access 10.0.0,
Yeah.
10.0?
We will be able to access unless we deny it.
Okay, so basically we have to deny. That is.
But since we're
Okay, that is the question.
yeah, okay. So yeah, that's what I said before. You know, mentioned as well that we will still have access unless we deny. So, but then the question is, how do we do that? If we go to the public, I'll go for outbound here. How can we deny? Because it's an outbound, right? So we're going from initiating an RDP from public VM to the vNet to private VM. What was the question? So Vikas says, what's the question? So the question is that from vNet 2, so public VM should not be able to access the private VM of vNet 2. So this guy from here should not be able to RDP. That's what Chintan is saying, right? Should not, so deny that connection. But this guy should not. So how can we block this guy from? So since we are initiating from inside to outside, so this is an outbound rule of NSG connected to public VNet. So we can deny outbound RDP connection. It won't be able to connect to any or to a destination IP, and the IP of this machine should be there.
So we can configure an outbound rule for the public
Yeah,
subnet
so there's a
VNet
public
1,
subnet
right?
vnet and there's an outbound security. And if we go
Okay,
add here,
got it.
so so that's where we need to go for. So first of all, 3389, and the destination is this. So if we are initiating that connection, so the destination could be the IP address of 172.16 at 0.0. So the whole subnet or just that machine, then it's 4, right? But
So are we really able to connect from public subnet to private subnet vNet 2?
yes, I mean, like, you can also check. You can initiate a RDP from here, from the public subnet. In fact, I'm just initiating that from public subnet now, MSDSC, and then connecting to 172.16.0.4. So this is from public subnet. I'll minimize the other machines here. So this is the public machine. Connect, yes. So if it's asking for username, password, already there's a connection there. But just to prove that it's still connecting from public subnet. And yeah, I told that before we tested it. Unless we create a deny rule, it's gonna connect.
So there is no means that we
It's
have
connecting. Yeah, you're saying?
disabled, like we have when we were creating the subnet, I guess, private subnet for vNet 2, we just say that the source should be only IP address
Yeah.
from private vNet 2 or vNet 1, sorry.
So when yeah.
So there is no mean to put this,
Yeah,
right?
so if we just put this range, so already if we put this range, it's not really implemented unless we create a deny rule. So if we had put this range, so it will cover everything also, and we still have to create a deny rule for this. So okay, and yes, Chintan also checked that. Because so it means we after or before configuring peering or private vnet, we also need to create deny. Yes, exactly, that's what it means. In Microsoft, we have to specifically deny. In Azure, the deny rule. Well, we have to specifically create that rule.
So I think it is similar to ACL in Cisco,
Exactly.
basically.
Specifically deny, specifically create another rule for what you want to do. Where I was in outbound, right? So it was. So I'm saying that in the NSG for public, outbound is this on 122.16.0.4 3389, and I click deny, and it's RDP deny to 172. I think it's not gonna allow me dots. So okay, so vnet 2 VM. Oh, why did I put spaces? Okay, so denied to this from RDP from this particular public machine to this. Add now, I could. So once it is created, then we can just check if RDP can be denied or is denied, or it's working right away or not. So I'll go to the public now, and there I already was connected to that machine once, so I'll just connect it again. The IP is already there. If the rule connects right away, well, it actually is still asking for username password, but yep, it's still connecting. RDP is not blocked yet unless we play with it. So I must have done some mistake here. So destination would be us. Actually, it works the other way. And this would be the destination 172.16.0.1. And deny. The rest is okay. 3389. I'll click save. I'll quickly check that. Okay, and refresh a couple of million times. Go in, and I am already connected from public to this. I'll disconnect. I'm in public, and again go to MSTSC. Alright, it's working now. By this time it was connected. So yeah, now the connection is blocked. RDP is blocked. Yeah, way to go. Okay, so it was, yeah, it was my mistake. The source was that machine.
I think the error was different. The error was saying that it's in use.
No, it was in use before, and I still was able to connect this connection as well, while it was already connected from another machine. So it doesn't matter, when it is in use, it will still connect. But here, it's specifically denied now. So now it's not working. Yeah, so deny rules are working fine. Deny rule, we were able to just go to outbound.
Amir, yeah, if you enable it from Windows Firewall, the remote desktop connection. So, I mean, if you have policy in the firewall in Windows, which one will be applied first? The one which is apply in the Azure or in the Windows?
Oh, no, that's good. So which takes precedence is that? So if on the operating system level you have blocked, but on the Azure level you have enabled, so obviously the last one takes precedence because when it reaches the last operating system, there you are blocked. So it will block access to the operating system.
And now if you enable remote desktop in Windows,
yeah, but
I mean it still will not work, right?
It will not work if specifically on the operating system level the firewall has blocked it.
Can we say
I have
most restricted will work?
Most restricted, and on the firewall level, it will come down to that.
Thank you, Mr. Ramal. Just could you please post add the video today or early morning, please?
I will
this video.
try. I mean, it takes 1.5 hours, so by this time, if I'm asleep, then in the morning. Otherwise, tonight. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Alright, guys. So let's delete everything. Yay! Okay, and very interesting questions from your side. Keep this passion up, and let's explore uncharted territories. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, anyway, so let's go back to our resource group and get rid of everything. So let's go to the portal menu here and to the resource groups. We know the drill. And this one resource group, so we just need to click here. Hopefully it doesn't say, hey, first delete the peering connection, then come here. Hopefully it doesn't say that. So delete resource group, we know the drill about resource group. Select the name. If it asks for no, first delete the peering group, then just go ahead and delete the peering group and then come back. Well, that's a lot of resources, so it's gonna take forever. And you can check from here as well what got deleted already. If the peering got deleted.
I think the easiest option would be we can just delete all of them inside the resource group, and then we can delete the resource group. Otherwise, it's taking so long.
Well, it's gonna take longer if you click that once and then delete, then click that once, then delete, and then click.
No, just click the name and then just delete it.
Yeah,
and
you wanna go this way? Yes, it's okay. It's a lot of clicks actually. And this is
just one click. Just you just have to do one click. Just click on name.
You're just saying that. Okay.
And then just delete it.
And then we later have to delete the resource group whenever it is deleted, because it will take the similar time, right? If we select it this way.
No, like for me it takes like just seconds.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, it's done. Otherwise, I waited for 10 minutes like for my resource group to be deleted.
Okay. Yes. So it's the class is done. Yeah. Whoever wants to go can go. Okay. Thank you for sharing that, Usman. So I will next time. I'll try that. Cool. Alright, guys. See you in next class. Have to go reach resource deleted. No, Milap is saying that just click the name in the resource group. So it will select all the resources. And then click the delete button. And it deletes real fast, and then delete the resource group separately. Alright, thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you. Good night. Bye-bye. Alright, good night. Thank you. Good night. Alright, bye-bye. Thank you. So, I'll stop the video here. Alright, bye-bye. Thank you.